language pathologist, but now I am a curriculum writer. I am the Universal Design for Learning instructional specialist on our curriculum writing team. So very, very excited to be out here in Indiana this week.
And I am Chris Bugaj, and I work for Loudoun County Public Schools, and I'm an assistive technology trainer there. I have about 12 schools that I'm responsible for, but I work in a team of professionals that work together to provide the assistive technology services for about, I don't know, it's like 80, it changes every year. There's always new schools. I think we're up to 80 or 82 schools that we have. It's a little bit different in Virginia and in Maryland than it is here in Indiana, I think, because our systems are county-based systems. So our entire school district is based on a county. That's why we have so many schools.
Yeah, so I've got, we have about 170,000 students, 133 elementary schools. I'm an elementary curriculum writer, and then, I don't know, like 20 high schools or something like that, and then the feeder middle schools in between.
I also do a podcast called the AT Tips Cast, where every episode try and share at least a couple strategies that are free and the teachers could turn around and use tomorrow in their classrooms, or strategies that they could use. And I try and make it fun and engaging and goofballish so that it's not like, oh, I got to listen to this podcast so I can get some strategies. Like, try to do stuff where, I did an episode just 2 episodes ago, was the Halloween episode where my son and I were building Frankenstein's monster, and as we were building the monster, we're looking at educational strategies and tools as well. So it's like something fun and engaging you can listen to. And let's see what else. Oh, and I wrote a book. Co-wrote a book with the co-author is Sally Norton-Darr, and it's called The Practical and Fun Guide to Assistive Technology in Public Schools.
So if you end up liking the style of presentation that we do here today, you're going to love his book, because and I'm not the co-author of it, but I'll just promote it anyway.
Thanks, Beth. Thanks. Oh, and there's an app called AT-Eval to Go, where that's about doing assistive technology evaluations. And Lisa, you have AT-Eval to Go. It takes you to an iPad app that you can use to do assistive technology evaluations, and that's brand new. That came out like in the past month. So, all right, enough about that nonsense.
So, for those of you who were here yesterday, you had a little chance to do this, but we do want to get a little assessment of where you are. I fixed it. It works. Why? Do you want to skip this one?
Can you go back one slide?
I can. Oh, that's right. I'll go back one slide.
The entire presentation is at this URL and at this QR code. So if you wanted to scan this QR code, it'll take you to the entire presentation. That URL will also take you to the entire presentation. So in that way, as we go through things, if you want to click on hyperlinks and play and explore there on the computers, you can do that.
Okay.
So it's bit.ly PATINS UDL Part 2. PATINS UDL Part 2.
And that'll make, if you choose to open that up, that'll make it easier to get to any of the links that we're going on to, so that you can, and this is hands-on, so at any time you can be going in and looking at the resources that we're talking about and playing with them and all of that. So come in and find a computer anywhere. So I'll go ahead and, so we want to get an idea of what your background or knowledge is with Universal Design for Learning. And if you go to this, bit.ly/UDL knowledge, or if you use your phone, if you've got a QR code, should go ahead and open that up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, anyone who happens to be watching this live stream, you can do it as well.
You can do this too, right. So out there in the world. So we just want to get a sense of what you know about Universal Design for Learning, so that as we're going through, we can accelerate and adjust to your learning, or give you more information if that's what's needed. So you're going to rank yourself on the Likert scale of 1 to 3, with 1 being an expert, and you can teach others about Universal Design for Learning, or 3, 2 is in the middle, or 3, I don't know much, and that's why you're here. There's no right or wrong answers with this.
Okay, so 1, I'm an expert, and I like the low-tech strategy too. You just throw up the fingers. Okay? Somewhere in the middle. Let's see what people said. 1 person's a 1, excellent. 2s and 3s, good. And that's 3. Anyone else want to throw up fingers? All right, so it looks like 2s and 3s. People are not familiar with it for the most part.
Or they're somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between. Heard about it, need to know a lot more about it. Great.
Okay, awesome. And just for FYI, what we did there, all of the things that you've seen so far, including our presentation, have all been created in Google Docs. If you saw me navigate over to my Google Drive, which is where all my Google Docs are stored online, I created the survey question in Google Docs, and we created our presentation as a Google Doc presentation as opposed to a PowerPoint, because this way we can easily collaborate with it online. We only live about 30 minutes away from each other, but with busy lives, we can't actually get together in order to plan our sessions, and so we do 95% of it online collaboration through Google Docs. And then the spreadsheet that the data from the survey went into is a Google Docs spreadsheet.
Well, let me ask. Let's just get some interaction right here, going right now. Who's here by themselves? Who's here with other people that they work with?
That's an either or.
By yourself? Other people. Other people here? A whole team here, right? Okay, so for those of you that are, now, well, really for everybody, Brenda, you too, but for those of you that are here with other people, did you do the thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the UDL one, we're going to go to the AIM one, right? You split it up so you can get, right? So what some people do at conferences is they use Google Docs, where okay, we're going to set up one Google Doc, and we're all going to put our notes in this one Google Doc, and you're all getting it at the same time, right? As opposed to, all right, I have my own notes, and I have my own notes, and I have my own notes. Now we've got to put them together someplace. They're all right there. And so, I'm sorry, what's your name? Tim. Tim, you could be sitting here, and someone could be posting a note on a Google Doc. You would see that from another presentation and say, hey, can you ask them about blah, blah, blah? And you could have this immediate feedback right now in another session.
And then you get jealous because you want to be learning about what they're learning about.
That too. But that's how some people handle those big conferences, is to share notes like that. And they can do that in Google presentation, this presentation, right, or in a Google Doc format, or the spreadsheets.
And I was just going to keep the screen up for just a second, but well, I can bring it back to it. So, okay. So we got a sense of where you are. So we're going to not linger too much, but we want to make sure everybody's on the same page with an understanding about universal design for learning.
I didn't get it. I didn't get the email. I didn't get
the URL?
Oh, okay. So
who can remember it without looking? No one?
And we're going to actually, maybe this is a good opportunity to talk a little bit about that website while you guys are getting it, while you're accessing it. Oh.
See,
okay.
I told you, that's not the right computer.
Make sure the blue cable, the Ethernet cable, is plugged in. Yeah, okay.
Huh, that's weird.
We'll give you a second to catch up. So Chris is going to actually go ahead. We'll give everybody a second to catch up with where, if you want to be able to pull up, and you're going to enjoy being on the internet for this session because everything we're showing is internet-based. Did you have a question? Or okay. So, and Chris, you want to tell them a little bit about, because you're going to see a number of both QR codes and bit.ly URLs up there.
The first strategy we talked about, the first Web 2.0 strategy, we're going to get to all of that, but it was Google Docs. The second one we want to point out right here on the very first slide is bit.ly, right? And just take away the last part, just bit.ly. Anyone use that here? You've used it. You used it. PATINS uses it. You'll see that on all the little cards that were out at breakfast, right? If you look it up, it's PATINS TV, bit.ly/PATINS TV. Yesterday I mentioned it in part one, but today I thought we would actually look at it. We actually take a long URL and shorten it. Sound okay?
Yeah.
Beth?
Yeah.
All right. So everyone got this?
Is everybody where they need to be with that? Awesome. So should I go ahead and bring up?
If you don't, remember, everything starts with bit.ly, and then it's going to be something at the end. And this one happens to be PATINS UDL Part 2.
Part 2. And
all right.
All right. So I'm in. I just need to hang on. I'm going to admit right now I am a novice Mac user. So if I'm doing anything and you're like, well, isn't she like a technology geek? Why is she like so painfully slow with some of this? It's because I'm still learning it on my Mac.
All right, Beth, will you go to nightlightstories.net first?
Okay.
Okay. Because here I want to just kind of walk you through the process of what happens. Okay, you're a teacher and you have this great resource you want to share with your students. You're a administrator and you want to share something with your staff. You're a staff member and you want to share something with your peers. And what do? You find this great resource. Let's say it's nightlightstories.net. And if you scroll down, Beth, you'll see that, keep going, keep going.
There's the cute picture of his kid.
Yeah. Look at that gorgeous girl.
And there's another cute picture of his other kid.
Here are, keep going, here are links to keep going. Here, quick links to all of our stories. Nightlight Stories is a podcast that features free children's stories. There's over 50 stories that are available for free that you can download on iTunes, or you can click on any one of these links, right? Let's do this one right here. Click on Ava the Elephant. And what happens when you click on that? You get this URL, right? You want to learn more about Ava the Elephant. You get this URL that says nightlightstories.net/2012/10/NLS9AvaElephant.html. And so if you wanted to share that resource, and this is just like any website, right? I just happen to use this one as an example because Nightlight Stories might be a good resource you could use. But let's say it's any resource. You get this long URL. What do? You copy it and put it in an email and you paste it and you send it off, right? And then what happens? I need that resource again. You got to go find it in your emails. You got to look up your bookmarks, right? I mean, so what if you change that strategy just slightly? You still send in the email, but you shrink it first. Not even shrink it, you make it more memorable. You make the URL more memorable. So what Beth's going to do is she's going to copy that URL, and she's going to jump over to bit.ly. This is a URL shortener. But I don't even like to think of it as a shortener. It's a URL, make it more memorable. And so here's the website. I like to sign in because you can create an account and it's free, and then it keeps all the things that I've ever shortened, but you don't have to. Beth has an account, great. Okay, and so now she's going to paste that link in right up here, Beth, by the little blowfish.
Oh, maybe that's why it's telling me like that it didn't have what I needed. You know what? They just switched this. Since the last time I've used it, they moved the thing around a little bit.
And that's a problem with some of the Web 2.0 tools.
But that's okay. You just have to be flexible. Flexibility is a really good skill.
So I took that and I copied it and I pasted it. Beth pasted it. And now it says, look, you can, Bitly shrunk it for you, and it's saved it as bit.ly, capital U, Q, capital PR, capital WS.
Which might be great if you're trying to tweet this because you want to be shortened or something like that, but it's not particularly memorable.
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to remember that? It's just as yucky as the long URL. You know? But right next to it is the Customize button. And when Beth clicks on the Customize button, it says, oh, you want to customize this. What do you want to call it? And so we're going to call it Ava the Elephant, because that's what that resource was about. It was you remember that blog post was about Ava the Elephant. And then you hit save, right? And then she hits copy. It says click to copy, and does this little thing where it floats up into the air, and that means it's copied to your clipboard. And now she can paste that into an email. She could keep that. And so why am I spending so much time explaining that is that people over time, you get this branding, right? That I know Chris is sharing a resource. I know my teacher is sharing a resource, and it's got to start with bit.ly, and then I can just remember what the ending is. So let's say I'm teaching Biology 101. It might be Mr. B's Biology 101 /cells. You know what I mean? Bit.ly, Biology 101 cells, because that's the lesson on cells. And then the next time it's about bones, and it's Biology 101 bones. And I don't have to go find the URL every time. I would just know it over time, because as a student, you see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? This makes it more memorable. What was the URL to Ava the Elephant? You remember it, right? You remember it, because okay. So one last thing. Did you move away from bit.ly?
I can go back to bit.ly.
Can you go back? One last thing is if you close that, and there it is. Can you click on this? Where'd it go? Right, okay, right there. If you click on the eye, and then you click on this eye, it takes you to information about this, about like how many people have saved it, how many people have clicked it. But here's what I want to show you. Okay, this is the coolest thing. You had breakfast? You have name cards? Take a look at your name card. What's on it? A QR code, right? Brenda's handwritten in. She doesn't have a QR code, but other people have QR codes, right? If you registered early, maybe. I don't know how they decided. And keep going. Scroll up a little bit, Beth. Other
Scroll
way.
up.
There is the QR code that you just created when you did Ava the Elephant, when you made that URL. Beth's going to click on that, and there's the QR code. And now that's just like a picture on the website. You can, just like you go to Google Images and you get a picture off a website, you got the QR code for any, did you know that? The bit.ly users, did I just teach you something new? All right, good, good. So now you take that QR code and you can put it anywhere you want. You can, anyone using QR codes with students? All right, let's talk about that just for real quick. Then we'll get back to what UDL is. QR codes, yesterday I mentioned that people are using QR codes at vocational purposes. They'll make a YouTube video about how to use this piece of equipment, and then they'll take that QR code to that YouTube video and they'll post it on this piece of equipment. So students that, okay, now I have to learn how to use this piece of equipment, they'll take their phone or they'll take their iPod Touch or their iPad or whatever, and they'll scan that QR code.
Simple little app that you just can get, scan. I mean, there's a bunch of, if you typed in QR code, there's a million little free apps that come up, and then you get basically, it's as if you're taking a picture, but it'll register that that's a QR code. I didn't even have to touch anything. I didn't have to click on it. I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was get it in the frame, and then it's coming up, and it's actually loading on my phone the site that we just created a QR code for.
So let's say you had a YouTube.
So I've got Nightlight Stories. I know you all can see this really well. So give it to the camera. So I've got Nightlight Stories, Ava the Elephant, right on my phone. That easy. No, so we talk about accessibility, decreasing physical motor demands, decreasing cognitive load, all of that.
So now you take that QR code, you print it out, and you slap it on this piece of equipment, and that QR code points to a video that students can watch over and over again on how this piece of equipment works, right? So that's one strategy for using QR codes. I had another one that I was going to talk about. Curious George. I lost
When you come back to it, when you recall it, you'll come back to it.
I'll just jump to it, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Sure.
question about QR codes or anything.
QR code, and you put it on a website, would you have to, I don't know much about QR codes, would you have to manually link it then?
Nope. Nope.
Would it also be a clickable link on a web page?
Well,
I would have to, it's an image.
It's
So
just a
like right
picture.
now my mouse is on this, it's not a clickable link, but I could easily go in and I could hyper, right, and I'm in presentation mode. I'd have to hyperlink it. If I wanted that to be a clickable link, like here's my clickable link here as text. So I'm also, this way, I'm giving it to people in multiple ways. So if somebody doesn't have the QR code, they're not online with this maybe they're just seeing the presentation, they didn't have a laptop with it so they could see it. So we're presenting it in lots of different ways. And then a third way that we could have done that would have been to have just be able to click on that QR code. It's a nice big target for somebody to click on.
And how much can you shrink them and still make them scannable?
It all depends on the type of QR code. So like, I just use bit.ly, but there are other ones that you'll notice that the ones on this was not made with using bit.ly because there's different, like it's more complex. You can see there's more. So there's different QR codes. And it depends. Well, no, just if you look at it, you can see, I can't read it. This one has a lot more complexity to it. See how many, there's so much more, yeah. I know what I was going to say. The QR code, you can.
Am I not, did I disconnect something? Okay.
The reason I was asking is because when you went to that Bit.ly site, the QR code was very small.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, Charles, like on a website.
That was the link to the QR code. So that when you wouldn't have linked there, that was to be able to bring it up and copy and paste it. So it was just like a little. So you as the you as the person who's setting it up is seeing that little one. The end user isn't going to see the itty bitty little one.
Right.
Yeah.
It also depends. It also depends on your paper and your printer and all that kind of stuff too that you're printing it on. Because if it was all fuzzy and stuff, it won't. But you can shrink them. And it depends on the camera. So a different, like the eye, depends on what you're using. Yeah, different devices have different
resolution that it's
resolution.
viewing it at. Yeah.
for the camera. So lots of variability there. But typically, bigger the better. Easier to read. Typically, that's the standard.
And it depends where people are going to be standing from it. Like if I was super close to this, it might be harder to, it depends on all of that. So.
Oh, and I know the other purpose. One other way people are using QR codes. You work in schools, so you have students. Are there libraries in your schools? And in those libraries, there are books? Okay, that's just like in Virginia.
Yeah.
You have that?
Yeah, we've got that. We've got libraries with actual books in them in Maryland, too.
So then the second grade class marches down, and okay, everyone go out and find your books. And they go and find their books, right? And they pull them off the shelf, and they're like, they flip through it just like we did when we were in school. But now what a lot of schools are doing, or some schools are doing, is they have kids doing their book reports on, let's make a little video about what I liked about this book, right? And expressing, who the main character was and why I liked it or something. And they take that and they post it up to their website. They put a QR code, and they paste that onto the back of the book, just like the little ISBN numbers on the back of the book. And so now a student takes out their device and they click, let me see what the other students like. It's like a book review, right? How motivating for the student that is actually doing a book report. Like back in the day when we did book reports and we just turned it into our teacher. Wow, that was so super motivating. But now students are
an authentic audience for it.
Exactly. Now other kids could be using it, right? So cool. Anyone else do anything cool with QR codes? Yeah.
We did teacher biographies, and they put the QR code outside their door. But the problem was that we didn't have anybody with smartphones in the school yet. I mean, the iPads were just coming in, so it wasn't used very well.
Yeah. But you're setting the seed there, right? And like, what is that? And people start having conversations, just like at a mall, right? I mean, there's the QR code on the outside of the door on the mall. But what is that? Now you start talking, and it'll come over time, right?
And that access to the devices, I actually read something recently. I didn't read the whole article, but something that came across in an email from something I'm on that said that mobile smartphones are outselling laptops at some huge number, like the number of phones, because of the access that people have, and that even relative to because they can multitask with this in ways that you can't with a laptop. So even in situations where socioeconomically depressed areas, or that because of what a smartphone can do, people are choosing those over laptops and internet service. So if they're making cuts, if they don't have the money to have a smartphone, a laptop, internet service, and all of that, they're choosing smartphones over that because of what you can do. They can check their email, they can, for one price that they'd be paying.
This is for you for participation. This is for you for participation. Thank you.
So we're going to talk just a little bit about universal design for learning, because we want to make sure that everybody is on the same page with that. And just to sort of hit home the most important idea of UDL is that it's a framework for removing barriers. And a really key word in that is that it's by anticipating the needs of students. So we're not doing a lesson and then realizing that Johnny isn't getting it and scrambling around to go find a video for Johnny so that he can get it because he needed a realized as we're teaching the lesson he needs multimedia. It's that knowing in advance that I'm going to have print, digital, multimedia, audio. I'm going to have a whole host of different types of resources for students to gain information from or to give information out in before I start teaching in the planning process, so that I've anticipated that students have different needs. Do we want to do the video? Let's watch a video.
So if you were here yesterday, we want to we got this weird thing going on, right? We have people who were not here yesterday, and we talked about UDL for like a half hour, 45 minutes. But we have people who were here yesterday, and so we're going to try and present it in a video here. If it's loud or not.
Whoops, I muted it. Is it good? Can you hear okay? Guy look familiar?
Can you hear it?
Hey everybody, one of those buzzwords you may have heard about lately is something called UDL. UDL stands for the Universal Design for Learning. The underlying principles of UDL have been around for a long time, but packaging them into one framework helps to ensure that they're implemented for everyone. So, what are the principles of UDL? Basically, a teacher starts by thinking about the abilities of the students he or she needs to instruct and couples that with the content in the curriculum. As the teacher starts to plan the lesson, he or she thinks about what's the best way to represent the information to each student. So, Tucker here might be more auditory and might prefer to listen to content, while Maggie here, well, she might be more visual and prefer to see images. By using multiple means of representation matched to the abilities of the students, a teacher maximizes the effectiveness of content delivery. Now, this same idea works when students are asked to demonstrate their knowledge. Some students might prefer to express themselves graphically, others might like to express themselves verbally, while others might like to draw as a form of expression. By using multiple means of expression, students have a better opportunity to successfully demonstrate what they know.
Whoa, let's not forget about engagement. When a teacher is thinking about students, one thing to consider is how to best engage each student. Some students like fuzzy animals, while others like robots, while still others like superheroes. You get the idea. Students are engaged by different things, and it's the responsibility of the teacher to figure out what will engage each student.
Matching a student's learning style to the content isn't necessarily as easy as it sounds. It can be a lot of heavy lifting to implement all those different modalities for a classroom of students. But that's where technology can help. Think about the needs of each student and which technology might help meet those needs. Remember, technology just means tools, so low-tech might help just as much as high-tech for some students. Think about the best way for each student to take in information. Think about the best way for each student to express what they know. Plan the lesson incorporating technology that allows students to use their preferred modalities, and then conduct the lesson. Once you do all that, analyze your results to see if you can improve it for next time. By using technology to help differentiate instruction, you'll meet the needs of all your students universally.
All right, so that kind of frames the three different pillars of UDL. There's representation, expression, and engagement. And these are the three when we were trying to, but let me ask, what do you do? Are you all special ed, working in special ed? Not special ed, right? And no, we have not special ed.
No.
Yay.
General ed?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, but
Yay.
she gets a prize just for being here as a general educator. We are. Because I saw like all over the patent stuff, it's like this is every teacher's responsibility. And so
Right, that's the thing. We need special ed teachers to evangelize to the general ed teachers because this isn't really about special education. I mean, it's about education, not these two different worlds.
So we're going to recognize you as a knowledge leader.
15 years ago, and I'm general ed, and now I'm technology.
Bonus points. There's a problem with that video. Who can tell me what the problem is? If you can tell me what the problem is, I'll give you this hat.
You don't look the same.
That's not a problem.
It wasn't captioned.
It wasn't captioned.
Say that.
Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't captioned. Here's a video on universal design
You're
for
a
learning.
knowledge leader. So that's what it says on there, knowledge leader.
Lori's a knowledge leader, and that's a hat from Live Binders.
From Live Binders, which we'll be talking about.
You'll be able to see Live Binders in a minute. But yeah, absolutely. Actually, the video is captioned. When I originally made that video, we do this thing where we give out DVDs to teachers, and they do the professional development through the DVDs, and it was captioned for that DVD. But then afterwards, after we made it for the DVD and captioned it on the DVD, we said, oh, let's go and put that on the web as well, and haven't ever gone back to caption it. And so that's been on my to-do list to do for a long, long time. But now I like presenting it and then using it as an example of what you should do.
That's what we do with all of our, things that we haven't gotten around to. This is what not to do. So again, just to reiterate some of the fundamental concepts of universal design for learning, that there's three major principles of it. This is from the CAST website, and I know it's not very clear for you to read, but it's very easy to go to cast.org and get to this information. But the three principles are to have flexible multiple modes of representation, flexible and multiple modes of action and expression, and flexible and multiple modes of engagement. So those are the things that as we move along that we're really going to be speaking to throughout this presentation. So you might have seen the name of our session is UDL 2.0. And so where did we kind of get that title from? The tools that we're going to be talking about today and the things that we've already talked about are all universally designed for learning. We're going to be looking at those multiple means, multiple means, multiple means within the context of what are referred to as Web 2.0 tools. Did you know there was a whole new web out there? It's actually the same web, but what it refers to is resources and tools that have been developed with the idea that we are not just going to those tools as consumers of information, where we're going on and we're finding information and it stops there with the information that we're getting, but that we are also producers of information. So we are creating a read-write web where we are both taking from it and giving back to it. So all the tools that we're going to look at are things that allow us to not just be consumers of information, so we can use bit.ly to get to things, but that we are producers of information, so we can create things using bit.ly in order to post it and make it more accessible for other individuals.
Can you name a Web 2.0 site? Facebook, exactly. What's that one do? I've never heard of it. YouTube. Why is that? I mean, usually you go to YouTube, you just watch a video. That's one-way communication. You upload videos, and also you can comment on videos.
You can comment.
Right?
So even if you're not quite there with the, and a lot of people are like intimidated, and we're going to show you a lot of tools, the ways that you don't have to be putting up your professionally produced video, but that you can still engage and interact with these sites.
Pinterest.
My daughter's favorite.
Now, have they let men use Pinterest yet?
Okay, I got an email from the founder of Pinterest yesterday, Chris.
The founder?
The founder.
Say, don't make any more jokes
His
about how
name
men...
is Ben. His name is Ben.
Wikipedia. Now, okay, so how is that interactive? It's still, don't you just go there and read it? Exactly. More? Twitter? No one uses that. Twitter,
Pos
exactly.
Beth. I'm on Twitter as Pos Beth. Chris is on Twitter as AT-TIPScast, so you can find us there. Scoop it.
Okay, now what is Scoop It? We saw that a little bit yesterday during the keynote.
I described it yesterday as Pinterest for geeks.
Pinterest for geeks.
So
okay.
it's basically, Scoop It is if there's articles that you want to curate. That's what it calls itself. It's a curation website that you can put it all together, based on a theme or a need or an interest, and have it all be in one place. And Kathleen's was really useful yesterday that she showed us at lunchtime.
Other stuff. Google Docs, right? We looked at that. Digo, yes. And guess what, Lisa? We are going to be looking at Digo today.
We're getting to Digo very soon. So the idea that these are all things that we marry them together. We're going to look at the UDL features of them, and they're all Web 2.0, and so we got UDL 2.0 out of that.
This slide really talks about, okay, now you have, we're going to show you a handful of tools, but then you're going to leave and you're going to find other tools. And we want you to put on your UDL glasses and look at them from that. And that's how we kind of developed, okay, when we look at our tools, we look at them and say, okay, here's this new tool. Does it adhere to the principles of UDL? Let's see. Is it relatively easy to use? Is there lots of places where I can click and get lost, or is it something that's pretty straightforward? That's not necessarily. There might be lots of complexities to it, and that doesn't mean we would rule it out, but that's one of the things we think about when we're looking at tools. Is it free? Free has its pros and cons, right? But I mean, you can easily use it, quickly use it if it's free. What is the registration process, if there is one? And if there is one, and what is it? And then is the content appropriate? Is it a site that's mainly for the mainstream, or is it an EDU site? And that's not to say we wouldn't use a mainstream site. It's just one of the things we consider as we're looking through different tools.
And within that, the privacy controls. So if you're in a district in a situation where there's pretty stringent privacy controls, those are things that you're going to want to look at closely. Can I restrict this so that only the people that I allow to see content that my students are posting, if that's okay? Or if you're in a situation where they're looking at the idea of students being producers at a much larger level. And districts at this point are all over the place with that. So So we just want to make sure that you know.
Beth
God,
begged
we so badly need to replace this picture.
She begged me to
Chris.
take this picture out, and I said, no way.
I'd rather have the piglet picture on there.
Because your hair looks so cute, though.
Oh, God. We're both about like 20 to 40 pounds heavier in that picture, too. All right, so.
We used a site called tunedoo.com, which we'll also, if we'll get to it today. We actually packed this presentation with more tools than we thought we'd get to, so we'll see if we get to TuneDoo. Probably we will.
So when you go home, when you've got this URL, if we haven't gotten to anything, and folks who are watching this live too, if you've got the presentation up, you can get to all the things that we don't get to today.
But we wanted to be clear that besides us emailing some of the Web 2.0 tools and asking them for swag that we could pass out and throw around, we don't get paid for any of this. This is not like, hey, we get some sort of extra money behind it to show you TuneDoo versus some other ones. We just wanted to be clear that we're not vendors here. We're just fans, right? And these are things we like. And because we're not vendors, we might not know every answer for every little thing. Well, how does that work? And I don't know, this is how we do it. You know, this is just how we use it.
So, because we know that you guys have lots of amazing ideas and are going to think of things that we haven't thought of and are using these tools in many ways already, possibly in your settings, we have a Google Docs spreadsheet that we're hoping that you're going to contribute to. And the people that were here yesterday know that if you do contribute to it, you're going to get some prizes out of that. So I'll go ahead and open it up if you want to.
So let's put this in our memory banks. What's it going to start with? Right? And then it's PATINS Google Doc. PATINS Google Doc. And if you go there, you've seen that we're working off a Google presentation, right? This is a spreadsheet. We looked at that earlier too. And you'll notice the tabs down here at the bottom.
So we've got stuff from yesterday in here already, because we also, the idea that collaboration happens over time, and this is not restricted to this single session. Okay, so we have stuff from yesterday, but we're going to be looking at different resources today, and you'll be able to go in and add to.
Cool, look at that. Ryan was in yesterday's session,
yeah,
and he's added stuff for today's session. How awesome is that? Right? But so the idea is you click on one of these tabs at the bottom. So when we're talking about TuneDoo, for instance, you'll click on TuneDoo. And then you just type in, okay, here's how I could use that. Here's how I could see it being used. And so you type that in and then put your name next to it. Ryan's been putting it in separate cells. You could also put it right in the same cell. The idea is...
We're like, are we off a little bit on our wall wisher? I'm looking at our
well, they might all be scattered around now.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Here we go. We're in Wawisher over here.
I think Digo is the first one we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But people can... Is that anyone getting it to work? You're jumping to? Question, or you're getting it to work? Getting it to
here
work.
We go.
Excellent.
So as we go along, we would love it if you would contribute ideas to this.
That's exactly what you want you to do. So... go ahead.
Oh, so, and as you're contributing ideas, that this is going to be a document that you'll be able to take back and share, that you'll be able to use, be a place, so we don't have to worry about the part of this is that it's collective. Our collective brain cells are all contributing to it. So you don't have to make sure that you're writing down everything that somebody else has said, because they're putting their ideas in here as well. So we're getting that collective, everybody's ideas are coming into it. So like, sometimes we talk about kids who are, as an accommodation that they have a note taker. When you have a collaborative site like this, and we talked about some others, Wawisher and some others yesterday, and we're going to look at a bunch today too, that are collaborative, where you can have not just one person taking notes, because what if that kid who's the note taker for the student with accommodations missed something important, and you're relying on that kid. If you've got everybody's ideas collectively all together, then you're setting up better notes for that student with accommodations. And not only for that student with accommodations, but because we're thinking in advance of how to meet the needs of diverse learners from the get-go, that every kid in the class, whether they've contributed to this or not, has access to it and can see the collaborative mind sharing, idea sharing that everybody's put into it. And so that if kids know this is going to be viewed, a lot of times people say, well, how do I know they're not just going to put in, garbage, or they're going to put in, well, kids are really the same way that collaborative sites like Wikipedia are self-policing. When people know that what they're putting in there is for an audience and it's an authentic reason for students to learn and study from, they're more likely to put in content that's really appropriate. B, if everybody can go in and look at it and somebody notices an error, you're able to fix it. So whether it's you as a teacher or whether you communicate that effectively to your students, that it's not a reflection of somebody else's work, but that we have the ability to expand and on others' ideas through it as well. So that's our Google Doc, and we hope you participate. And those that do, if you leave your name, see how Ryan left his name yesterday? If you leave your name, if you care to leave your name, you don't have to, you can be anonymous, then we're going to have a couple of nice, fabulous prizes for you at the end of the day.
They actually are pretty good.
Lori will attest to that.
Very nice prize.
Yes, so we'll hope you'll add some ideas in there. Okay.
The
Go,
very
Mr.
very first tool we want to talk about is Digo. Now, who's your Digo user in here? One person. Okay, so you've heard of Digo? Not at all. Yes, some nods of yes, not at all. Some people not at all. Other people. Okay, so here's the social bookmarking 101. Back in the day, you go and you find this cool resource like Ava the Elephant, and you would take that and you would bookmark it in your Internet Explorer, like save it in your favorites. Yes? Is that how you do it now? Is that how teachers do it now? Absolutely, right?
Go to your bookmarks.
And then what happens? Teachers have busy lives, so they go home, and that's when they're going to do some work at home. And what was that bookmark? Oh, I saved it over there. I can't remember. Maybe I saved it in my email. If I was real, I emailed it to myself, and I pull it up in my email. But wouldn't it be great if I could save those bookmarks to a website, and I could see all my bookmarks that way? Better than that, wouldn't it be great if I could share those with all the other people that I work with? Right? That's social bookmarking in a nutshell. Also, what would happen too? Like every 6 months or a year or every 2 years, they refresh your computers, right? Has this happened? And all of a sudden, what happened? Yeah, right? And then what happened to my bookmarks? They're gone. Everything's gone, right? What if you save it all on the web? You don't have that worry, unless Digo goes someplace. But I don't think it's going anywhere, right? So that's what social bookmarking is in a nutshell. It also, on our assistive technology team, I mentioned before that I work on an assistive technology team, it really helped us solve this big problem we were having. We have this website, and it's not in here, but you can write it down if you want to. It's our AT website called LCPS, Loudoun County Public Schools, lcps.org/AT. LCPS, Loudoun County Public Schools, that's lcps.org/AT. And what we did is we had this conversation on our team. Say, okay, what do we want our website to be? We want to share resources with our teachers who are serving. What are those resources going to be? And so some of us on the team said, you know what we want that to be? We want, here's our, we're constantly doing stuff for communication. We're giving out strategies for teachers about communication strategies and how they can help their students be better communicators. And we're giving strategies for writing strategies and stuff there. So let's put those there. And then say, let's have our top 10 list there, because what happens is teachers keep coming to our website and where's that template? I know it's on that website and it's right there and it's always there. So we want it to be static. And other people, myself included, would say, hey, I just found this great new writing template. I want to share that with teachers too. How do I share with teachers when we have these static top 10? And so what we did is we married the two. If you were to go to that website, the lcps.org/AT website, you'll see these different categories: communication, writing, visual, tactile, all these things. You click on there, there's 10 resources that we really like, and then there's a link to our Digo group. And when you click on that, it takes you to a list of anything that we found associated with that. Let's say it's writing tools. That we've found that we thought would be good. So how do you save a bookmark? Let's just start there.
Okay.
We need to bookmark something, Beth. Let's see. We need another good resource. Maybe.
Okay.
Yes, there we go.
So this is my Digo, and within it, this is my user profile. And within it, you can have groups, as Chris was saying. And we've actually started a group for PATINS. So we've already put in for PATINS all of the stuff that we're talking about here today, and then some stuff that we have. So just to let you know, there is a PATINS 2012, and you can search for that and you can join it, and we would love to have you do that, and I believe there's a link to it on the presentation as well.
Yep, and a QR code too.
Yep. So let's go ahead and if I want to, let's go ahead and add something in there. So what would you like to?
Okay, so let me slow it down for a second. Let's bring it slow down. So what happens is Beth finds this good resource. Yes, she's out there. And she says, I found this good resource, and I really want to keep it. So let's start there. Let's go find a good resource. Ha! Beth, you are the best. She says she wants to look at the AT Tips Cast.
What am I going to the compendium? Where am I going, Chris? It didn't come up
Yep,
with what
that's
I wanted.
it.
Okay,
ATTipscast.com.
there we go.
Okay. And so this is the podcast that I told you about, and it's got the compendium blog for the podcast. And here's an episode about an app that you can use for literacy purposes. And you, oh, perfect. I want to keep this. I want to come back to it later, right? So she would click on, she wants to bookmark this.
So I'm going to go to this episode because I might bookmark the whole site, but I might decide I really want to bookmark this episode.
This particular
so I'm going to make sure I'm
episode.
in this link, same like as when we looked at Ava the elephant. Okay, so I've got this link right here.
And then where is your Digolet?
So I have a little toolbar app that I have that you download, and this is the Mac version one. There's actually a slightly more robust one for Internet Explorer and Chrome. This is the one for Safari. There's a slightly more robust one for Chrome. And I can go in, and I've got...
Stop right there, Beth.
Yep.
Because that's a roadblock. Some people you don't have access to install things on your computers in some cases. Is that true, teachers? It's okay. You could still have Digo open in another tab and just go right to Digo. You don't have to have this Digolet that Beth is going to show you.
So
it's not a requirement. It's just a convenience feature.
I can click where it says bookmark there, and I could just copy and paste that bookmark right in there as well.
See
We're going
that?
to show you two different ways because we're talking about multiple means of expression. So two different ways you can do something. So I could be putting in I could just copy and paste my URL right in there, okay? And if I hit next, it's going to prompt me to, I can put some information in about it, okay? So I could say what it is so I don't have to just.
Cool? See how she's saving that website? Okay. So she's giving it a title, because what it's going to save is this URL. Sometimes
Okay.
the title pre-populates, which is cool. I don't know exactly how it
Yeah.
does that, when it does that. She can leave a comment like, oh, this is the best podcast ever. You need to check it out. Or, this is really good for my students in biology class. You know, whatever the comment wants to be. And then she's got this very cool feature called tags. And this is to say, okay, what is this resource about? It's about UDL. I like that it gives you some suggestions.
Yeah,
Top 10.
so it'll go ahead and suggest it. I can add some additional tags. So reading, books, children's. And I'm never sure with different tags in different places whether it needs to be all one word or if I can get, so children's lit, so I can put in whatever tags I want. I can put in as many tags as I want. Thinking about the broadest number of people, because this is, we haven't gotten even, in depth in this, but this is something that other people can access. So I'm not just bookmarking it for myself, I'm bookmarking it for other people, and they might search based on these tags for things, okay?
So maybe app, because this is a resource about app.
I could, and again, I might have, it might have some animation in there, whatever it is that I'm going to do. And actually, I didn't need to comma separate those. It's showing me that. Okay, so I can go in and I can post that.
Now, Beth is in the group, but what she could do is she could just save that to her own bookmarks. So she doesn't share it with anybody. It's just her own bookmarks. She can mark it private so no one else sees it, or she can make it public so anyone who goes to the Beth's library could see it.
So if I was just in my library, I would have just add new item, and I can go ahead. And there's a few other things I could add in there, too.
Are we confusing you, or are you getting it? It's just like when you go to favorites, saving it there, but instead we're saving it to a website. Cool? Okay.
And if you have the ability to put the Digolet toolbar on your computer and do that install, then you don't even have to go into the whole website to do it. I can just bookmark this page and I get that same information that I can type in right there. I can choose to add it to a list. You can have lists based on topics, or I can add it to a group. So we've already put it in our PATINS group, but maybe I want to share this with other groups as well. So maybe I'm going to go ahead and put this in a larger group. This is DIGO in Education. This is part of a larger group. I don't know who all the members of that are. It's just a group I chose to join, as opposed to our group of PATINS that we created. And I can have closed groups where you have to be invited and be a member to join. So when we talked about that, privacy controls, I can set this up so it's just for my class, or I can have it be, you know, well, my class is going to use it, but the larger world is going to benefit from it as well. So
Cool.
I could put in all those informations. And
If we had all day, we would show you how to set up a group. And we would all create accounts, and we would all start bookmarking stuff, but we don't have all day. But we will be doing that at ATIA, right?
yes, that's great. Thank you. So across the board, if you are listening to what we are saying and you're like, wow, this is awesome, but I need a lot more support in how to plan for this and how to implement it in my team. So Chris and I are doing, and we recognize that, and that 2.5 hours is not nearly enough time. And we are like working at a very fast pace just to be able to give you an exposure, and that's really what it is, an exposure level to these tools. At ATIA, which is a conference, Assistive Technology Industry Association, that's held every January in Orlando. So think about Indiana in January or Orlando in January. It's for individuals in education or in the adult or not education world as well that are interested in assistive technology, special education, instructional technology. And we are presenting a two-day pre-conference session where we will be talking about planning for universal design for learning, and then creating resources that you can take back and use with your teams right away for professional development and supporting students. So it's called Mission Possible, Proliferating a Culture of Universal Design for Learning. So we hope if you're interested and if you've got funding to get to a conference outside of your state that you'll take a look at this and come see us so that we can talk a little slower for you that day.
So
We've got flyers if you care to pick them up.
Do you see how DIGO solved the problem for us? We have, on our assistive technology team, we set up a group, and all 10 people on our assistive technology team belong to this group. And whenever Sally finds something, a cool math resource, and she wants to share it with Chris, she just doesn't have to send me an email about it. Hey guys, check this out, which I'll eventually lose in my email, you know, the thousands of emails I get a day. It's bookmarked here in the group. And then when I need to go search for something, I will go to a tag, I will go to the search, and I'll search for math. And it'll bring up different math strategies. We created a group for you called PATINS 2012. You don't belong to the group. You just have access to view the group. And we put every hyperlink in our presentation, in both days' presentation. So if you couldn't make it yesterday, you can go back and you can see them here.
So if I searched in that group, we're going to talk about some different tools that you can make comics and cartoons. And if I search the word cartoon, which is way Chris tagged one of those. Okay. Now I might search cartoon. Somebody else might have searched comic. So Chris tagged it in multiple ways so that people would be able to get to this in multiple ways.
Now, here's what some teachers do. Some teachers, like Beth, for instance, when you're teaching a college level course.
I do.
And so how do you use it for that?
So
purpose?
in my college level course that I teach for Johns Hopkins, I tag every resource that we are using, any internet-based resource that we are using in the course with the tag JHU, Johns Hopkins University, so that my students know that all they have to do is search for those JHU, and I'll tag it,
Like
sometimes I'll tag
number?
it further than that, but that way everything's tagged JHU. I might also tag it like 2012 or fall or whatever the semester, but I want to have the larger tags. I don't have to keep putting new tags in, so I've got that JHU tag. I tag everything with that, so they know that all they have to do is go into JHU and search for that, and it's going to come up with all the tags. Now, I've also created groups within that, but I want them to know that as I go along in life, as I go along professionally, that I'm going to continue tagging things JHU. It's so much quicker and easier for me to just put in that tag than to remember what group I need to send this to. So that they know, 2 years from now, they want to see what other things that I've come up with, that I think are going to be of interest to educators around technology, which is the course that I teach, that they can look for that tag and find information.
So let me ask you, how do you find information now? You need to learn about the X. What do? How do you learn about the X? This thing, whatever thing it is, the Y. You do a Google search, right? And I've heard it called that the Google search is like taking a fire hose and here's all the information, right? Because there's so much. Right? So what we've done, and that's what I do too, don't get me wrong, we needed to know how to do something with the Mac yesterday.
Yeah.
Just Google it.
Just Google it.
There's the answer.
I needed how to figure out, put page numbers on daughter's research paper and her name. Google it.
But when I'm looking for educational resources, now I've changed my practice a little bit. Instead of going to Google, okay, I need a good math resource, I'll go to we keep ours open to the public, but we'll go to our LCPS, Loudoun County Public Schools, DIGO group, and I'll say, let's see what my team members have tagged X. And it pulls up everything that's related to X. I want to come up with a podcast on universal design for learning because I got to send this out to teachers. And I know that teacher drives an hour to work. So I want to give her a podcast on UDL. I'll go to DIGO and I'll type that in to see what my teammates have found. Cool? And so now it's a little garden hose that they're sprayed with instead of the big fire hose.
And there's that idea that there's somebody vetting it beyond just Google, where it's an algorithmic search. There's a personal touch to the way that you're searching for information.
Good stuff. Questions? Yes.
When you add links here, is there any way to organize it or put it in folders like subject area or?
That's what the tagging does for you.
Right. So if I have my tags here, so it's going to have my tags. I'm not organizing it into folders, I'm organizing it by tags. So I can look at all of the things that are here tagged as animation. These are my top 10 tags. I can get to all of my tags as well. So everything that I've tagged. This is called a tag cloud, and you'll see anything that's been tagged, the more something gets tagged, the larger the word is. So I know I'm going to have more things that are tagged with animation, bookmarks, slideshow, technology, photos. Those are all things that have been tagged more often. Those are tags that I put in more often than other tags. So
here's what we have also too, right? On our assistive technology team, and I know teachers do this they'll create a folder. And we're going to pull my stuff in the folder. And inside that folder, there's other folders. And inside those folders, there's other folders, right? And what happens is those things grow. And so now, 6 months later, which folder did I put it in? And so, right? Yeah, is that what happens? It's what happens, right?
You're searching for memory.
or have
Right.
you ever been in the situation where, gosh, this could go in this folder or it could go in this folder, and I'm not sure which folder I want to put it in. But I can tag it with multiple tags, and then it's in all the folders that I want it to be in.
Exactly. Because Beth might say, this is a great algebra resource. And I might look at it and say, this is a great math resource. So she would have put it in the algebra one, and I would have put it in the math one. And now when she's going searching for mine, she can't find it. When I'm going searching for her, can't find it. But if you tag it, both algebra and math, then whatever I search for,
It's in both places.
I find it out. Cool? Thanks for the question. That helped clarify things. You get a calendar.
All right, so we're going to, can we move on to another tool now? Are we good?
Going to go use DIGO? At least check it out.
There's so much, the other thing is too, there's so much more. We didn't even get into highlighting and annotating, so you can really set up, when we talk about universal design.
We got to show the highlighting. We got to show it.
Yeah, we got to show it. Okay.
Because it's the other way students use it.
So let's go back over here. Okay, let's go into AT Tips Cast. So, because what we've kind of shown you right now is how you might set stuff up for students, but we want to show you that this is also, so that was that representation. So these are ways of representing things to students, but we also want to show you that there's ways that students can use it for expression, for organization, and setting things up. So we're going to do a little highlighting here. On my DIGO lit toolbar here, I have this ability to highlight, and again, there is a more robust version, and when you're in the website itself, you can get to all of these tools. And by the way, there is a premium version of DIGO, but the trick is, if you're an educator, you get the premium version for free. So you would go to Go Premium, and then you you find somewheres on the page it'll say something about free
Are you an
premium for
educator?
an educator. So I get all the premium tools as an educator without paying anything for them. We like free. So we're going to show you how we might where I might highlight something. So I'm going to get my highlighter.
Notice you have yellow, blue, green, and pink.
So I've got, okay.
Anyone here using Read and Write Gold? Okay, you know the study tools? Okay, similar to that. Okay? If you don't know Read and Write Gold, you got to check it out. It's one of the best tools out there. That's you got to pay for, right?
So I've gone in there and I've highlighted something. What I actually should have done is I should have put a sticky note in first. I'm gonna put a sticky. We're gonna pretend I did this in the reverse order. So I'm the teacher and I'm gonna put a sticky note in there, and I'm gonna say, find the main idea of this article, podcast, whatever it is. So if you're implementing Common Core, Indiana's a Common Core state, right? Big English language art indicator is being able to find the main idea and have supporting details to back that up. So I could go ahead and I can have that. I've got my little sticky note. Student would come in and be able to say, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm supposed to find the main idea of the article. How am I going to do that? I'm going to go and take my highlighter and I'm going to find something that gives me text support as to what the main idea of this article is. Okay?
Because you have the different colors, the different colors could have different meanings. So remember the activity, highlight all the verbs, right? Same thing. Highlight all the vocabulary words, or even a better one, highlight a word you're not sure what it means, you know, a word you're struggling with. You can highlight different ideas for highlighting. You have 4 different colors there.
So lots of things. All right, so now did we show enough that everybody can't wait to go home and play Indigo?
Well, so we've highlighted it, but
Yeah.
what does that mean? What it means is when you're signed into Digo, the next time you come to this website, all the stuff that you've highlighted will still be highlighted. Okay? And you can also pull out all of the stuff. You can extract the highlights. This, in the Digo Let version, you get the annotated link, and it's basically a link to everything. Well, you'll see.
So we get that annotated link. I can send it, and it's going to copy with the highlights and the annotations in it. So it's only when we're signed into, when people are signed into Digo, are using Digo, so like somebody on the web randomly coming across that is not going to see that. But if I've signed it in, I've made it part of a group, then anybody who's going to that group or anybody that I'm sending this link to is going to see it. Great thing also for parents to send them some of that information and include them as a part of that. So they could just go here, and this is going to come up if I were to copy and paste this or send it in an email.
Right? Seeing some head nods here, right? Just like the extract tool in Read and Write Gold, right? But free. Doesn't have all the other features of Read and Write Gold, but it's one part of it. Yes? Go ahead, tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I oversee the Office of Planning for Central Indiana, and we have about 50 different people, maybe 30 some different school districts and agencies. And we've tried going through Google Docs, but the problem is we can't share outside your district. So you can't have the way it's set up in the school districts, you can't really access it from outside the district. So I'm thinking this is an excellent way that we can share links and resources.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
You know, we have been doing this for a while now. We have so many favorites saved, and we've tried to review them. We meet monthly, every month, bring up 2 or 3. Just these are good sites. Remember them, go check them out. But this is a good way to do that.
And
Excellent.
another thing is if you choose to set it up in your preferences for how your settings for yourself, okay? So I've got settings for myself. I can have account setting. I can get a daily Digo update about my group. I can have a weekly Digo update. I can have a monthly. So I can set things so that I can have a push out to me, because I am totally a person who needs that reminder. I need the alarm clock to go off. I need bells and whistles. I have to have, like 15 minutes before, 2 hours before, whatever it is to get to an appointment on time. I need a push out to me to remind me to look at those things, because otherwise it just gets buried in the day. So you can have people set up, and it doesn't have to be, well, I don't want that in my inbox every day. Well, then set it up for every week or set it up for every month. And it'll tell you what's new in your group. So you can do that under the settings. And you can see here, this is that teacher console that I was telling you about that I get to have because I am special, because I am an educator.
Brenda, did you have something to add? You looked like you had.
No,
Okay.
All right, so.
Question, Lisa.
Talk about whether the kids need to make bookmark private or public. Did you talk about
We just alluded to it, so I can set things up, again,
Let me
there's,
repeat Lisa said, let's talk about how you can make things private or public. Go ahead, sorry, Beth.
no, so
For the
I
camera
can,
there.
so if I'm choosing to create a note in here, so I'm going to have that sticky note, and I'm going to have a second one, I might have a note I might set up more than one group, for example. I might have a note that I'm going to go in there, so maybe I'm going to have some differentiation for my class, and I'm going to have a group that's everybody, and then maybe I'm going to have a group that's a particular set of learners where I want to have something differentiated. So maybe I'm going to have in that group that I'm going to have some additional supports built into sticky notes that I might put, some additional prompts that I'm going to put in. Okay? I can add, I'm pre-doing this beforehand. I can put anybody I want in that group. I can make those flexible groupings. I can choose multiple groups. I can choose just one group. So it's not that I'm, separating out this group of individuals. And nobody has to know. So Chris doesn't have to know that I gave Lori more prompts through Digo than I gave him.
What? You gave Lori more prompts?
Okay? So I could set it private, so it's just a prompt for me. So I get that sticky note on there with that reminder of this is really important and I need to look at that. And I can do that all and I can set that in multiple ways.
My wife and I have Digo set up with a private one. So when I find a bookmark or she bookmark is just for her and I, for like maybe it's about the kids or I didn't say it, but that Nightlight Stories resource is my wife and I write children's stories and we do podcasts. So she sits on her teacher voice and records the story. And then we have the blog that goes along with it. But maybe we'll find a resource that we want to share there or something. We keep it private. And so it's just a private group. No one has to see it.
And you can set anything that you're tagging, anything that you're bookmarking as private. So for example, I can't separate out like everything into separate compartments. So I have all my Digo notes that go out to my JHU group, that go out to all these different things. They're public on the web. But then I also have the link to pay my bills. I don't want that out there for anybody to click on and figure out how to hack or know what bills I pay. So I have those set as private. It's all in the same Digo account. I don't need to have a separate account or anything like that. It's just how I choose to do it. So again, if you've got information perhaps that you're putting up on the web that you don't want everybody to be able to get to easily, but you want to be able to get to easily, you can have it. It doesn't have to be two different accounts. You don't have to have Beth's education account and Beth's personal account, because that's way too many places for me to have to go.
All right, last thing about social bookmarking before we move on to the next tool is that this is just one option. The big, competitor would be Delicious. And actually, Delicious people use, head nod back there. You use Delicious? Don't really use it. You checked it out once upon a time, yeah. So Delicious is something you might consider as well. And then, does anyone, you'd mentioned it, but does this remind you of any other website that you might use? Pinterest, right? It's exactly.
And we're going to show you all a couple of other sites that would fall in the same genre
of finding information.
Of websites, social bookmarking. And that's kind of the general term is a social bookmarking site. And then I think you've got some different, we've talked about Scoop It as a curating site, but it's essentially a social bookmarking site as well.
Again, bit.ly, PATINS Digo group takes you to a list of everything that's in both presentations.
And this is actually...
Open. You share it.
Yeah, and on the website, when you first go into Digo, and it's right here also, is an awesome video that really is well done that gets into to all of those things.
Here you go for trying out Delicious, even if you didn't stick with it.
So we've actually kind of talked about all of these things. So on the theme of social bookmarking, we wanted to show you another type of social bookmarking that's a little bit different. Digo is very text-based, although you can have images. If you saw in there, I could save images as well. When I went to add something, I could add an image. Symbaloo is another resource, another social bookmarking site that is symbol-based. So for our visual learners or our students that have some literacy, need some supports with literacy in that way. So I'm going to take you into Symbaloo. And again, it's that idea that I can they have their theme. Access your bookmarks anywhere. So again, that same thing of you don't have to worry about it being your favorites on your computer. It's anywhere. And Chris is handing out some decals so that you could use them as bookmarks, or you can peel off the back and you could, put them on your notebooks, however you want to use them. So you can set up some different. So I have a very simple one set up here with some of my favorite sites that I might share with a student, or I might share. And I can have as many, I can have them many or few. So again, you can see that we've got some icons that go with the symbols on there. So these are some of my favorites. I'm going to go into, this is an educator-teacher one. So again, I've got all these different, and they're called mixes. They're called web mixes. So this is organized by content, so I can get into, you can see how there's some layers here, so I can get into, and I've got some different prompts. And these are actually uploaded as document files, as well as some different websites. And I'm going to show you real quickly to get an idea. There's some different educational tools that we've got set up in here. You can group them so that certain things are all together. There's also a feature that I really like with Symbaloo that are called widgets. So right within it, it has widgets, which are like little gadgets. So I can have a calculator right here. I can have a notepad, and it comes right in the middle. So I could type a note right in there. I don't have to leave this. Okay, and I can save that. So I've got some notes in there. I don't have to go. I can get into a task list. I can find a calendar. Find a calendar. Let's go to the weather. Okay, so I can see the weather. So without having to leave this, within this site, I can get into lots of different information. I can have different ones that are set up in different ways. So how do you do this? This is maybe looks a little overwhelming. Right at the top of Symbaloo is a web. It's called Add a Web Mix. I believe you can start exploring other people's web mixes without signing up, but to create your own web mixes, you do need to register for it. And that's one of those things that we talked about, look at that registration. So I could be a consumer on Symbaloo without having to register, or my students having to register if I just want to set stuff up for them to be able to use and engage in. If I want to create my own web mix, I'm going to need to sign in and access it there. So if I wanted to create a web mix for PATINS, it could be for that. It could have, could be accessible instructional material. It could be biology resources, whatever it is that I want it to be. And I will use this web mix for titles. I could also have a web mix of my RSS feeds. So if you subscribe to blogs or other services like that use RSS feeds, you can use that as well. Or I can go and I can search, and I can have all sorts of, I can search for education ones. This is Symbaloo. I wanted to also point out, this is Symbaloo EDU. It has that EDU attached to it. There is also Symbaloo that is not EDU. So the idea with the Symbaloo EDU is that this is being used in classrooms, that things are geared towards education. There's more vetting, and there's more, if you looked at the legal jargon, there's more things that are there with the idea of SIPA protection, okay, as opposed to what might be just out there on the Symbaloo, where you still can have, really inappropriate things, but you might find somebody's, if you're on the regular Symbaloo, you might find somebody's poems on suicide that you might not want your students to come across as easily, which you wouldn't find on the EDU version of it. So I can just go right ahead and I can add it. I can also go into selecting through tiles, a quick start. All those little boxes, they're called tiles. So if I've got this, these tiles here, I can go in and I can add a tile. I can search for a tile. It will let me search for a lot of things. So let's say I'm just going to Okay, so if I searched for Twitter, it would go ahead and it would give me lots of icons and images that I could already use, okay, that kids might be familiar with. So whether it's the T or whether it's the bird, and I can put that in there, okay, and it's going to take me to it. I can go in here, and I can also, let's see, okay, so it's not getting me into Nightlight Stories. It is say we found 172 web mixes in the gallery about Nightlight Stories. So these might be things that I could search through, and I don't know.
It's weird. Maybe it's because it's
It might be just the way that it's
put
in
the
there.
space between night and light. I wonder if that makes any difference. Because I've uploaded night, light, and another space stories.
So it's not coming. Again, you can
No.
see there's things here. So as you're setting up, I don't want Coors Light in there, but I can go ahead, and it's not going to. I can also then just go in and I can create my own tile. Okay, so Nightlight Stories didn't come up, but it's Nightlight, and I could just copy this
Stories.
in so I wouldn't get a spelling mistake like stories.net, right? Do I have that spelled?
You got
Do I
that
have
right.
that in there?
Nightlightstories.net.
Okay, it's a website, okay? This link seems to be correct. It's going to check me. I'm getting a name for it. I can have a text color, so I can choose to display that name on the title, or I could choose not to. And then I can choose the text color. Do I want black or do I want white? Maybe I'm going to design the color there. And I can add an icon for that title, or I can upload my own image. So I can go in and I can choose from a file. And of course, I'm on my new computer, so I don't have my already archived in picture from Nightlight Stories in there, so we'll just.
It's all right. Any picture will do.
But I could go in, but maybe I'll show them, that you can get pictures from places.
Okay.
So,
As you do that, Beth, let
Yeah.
me ask everybody a question. What is your current home page? When you log into your computer, what's your home page? Google, the schools. What was that? Your own personal webpage? Oh, something you've created. Uh-huh. Schools. What about students? Same thing, schools, right? Well, what if the home page was this? What if it was Symbaloo, where you had you had tabs across the top for what they needed and different buttons right there. It's still Google. You saw Google right there in the middle, right? You could still do a Google search right there. But for instance, for me, how many websites do I have to use? I have all sorts of different. When I take a sick day, I have to hit the calendar link, and when I have to log into our tracking system, I have that link, and when I have to go to our lcps.org/at, I've got that link, and I've got all that stuff on my desktop someplace. Or it could be my home page where I have tiles everywhere, right? And so what do I want for the students? I want to, for myself as a personal, professional tool, I could have all those right there organized on my home page. Sorry, I'm right in front of that column for you, aren't I? But for students, it could be all the different websites that we want to go to about. Here's my frequently used, and then I click on the tab at the top, and it takes me to the polar bear stuff we're learning about. And I click on a different tab, and that takes me to all the stuff about Abraham Lincoln that we're learning about, right? And it can be organized in that way so that it's quick access for the students. Yes?
So I can go in, I've got my Nightlight Stories, and it'll take me right into Nightlight Stories. It'll just a simple click, and I can get into it. I could set this up as wide, like this is the whole website of Nightlight Stories, or perhaps I'm going to want kids to make choices about what story they want to listen to that day. So I'm going to take that Ava the Elephant link, and maybe then I'm just going to put an image of an elephant on there. Because I can upload my own image, I could choose an image of an elephant that I want there. I'm going to have a ferret story, because Chris and his wife like to write about ferrets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can put that ferret story so that I can give my kids choices of how they're going to navigate. I could also put that little note-taking widget in there. Remember our little note-taking widget that goes in the center, that lets me pop up in the center? So that what I'm asking students to do is not just listen to these stories, but listen to them, and then they need to write something about it when they're done listening to it. And it's going to save their notes and their reflections on it. So maybe then by the end of a period of time, they're going to go back and say, we'd be able to reflect on different themes that they heard by the same author, which is again one of those Common Core indicators in literacy of being able to compare texts by the same author. So if they're listening to multiple Nightlight stories, they can go and compare. And what do they see come over and over again in that? What are some common themes? What are some differences that they see?
Yeah.
So being able to tie that back to having this choice, lots of choices for things, very UDL, being able to get to things easily, tying it back into that educational indicators that we need to get to for students.
Good
So,
stuff?
Good stuff?
Good stuff.
People are
Useful?
liking?
Yeah, okay, we're getting some head nods, yes.
Okay.
Love it.
So
And don't forget about the Google Doc. I hope you're adding
Add
stuff
some
there,
things
because we
in for
have
Google
fabulous
Doc.
prizes to give away.
fabulous prizes.
That is not a
Fabulous
sarcastic
prizes.
fabulous. These
Woohoo.
are really fabulous
Pieces of
prizes.
paper.
Right, Lori?
Yes.
Okay.
So remember the Google Docs. The Google Doc is, oops, there it goes. So there's our Google Doc, bit.ly/PATINS Google Doc. Or you can, if you're in our resource, you can get to it. Thank you very much for helping out there. We like to be collaborative with everybody. Okay, so we've talked about the different means of things that we can search within the tool, organize visual information, the widgets, content organization. Now we're going to take you, the last couple sites that we've looked at have been pretty, we talk about that easy to use. There's a learning curve with Digo. There's a learning curve with Symbaloo setting it up. It's pretty simple. Symbaloo, if you've got it set up, it's pretty, for that end user to get into, it's pretty easy. But there's a learning curve. So now we're going to show you something where the learning curve is really small.
There is no learning curve to this one. This is called Vocaroo.com, and I need a volunteer. Who wants to come up? Come up to volunteer. You get a calendar. You'll do
Oh,
it? Great.
thank
Come
you.
on up, Brenda. Excellent. So this is very confusing here.
No, we're teasing you. It's really not.
That's my sarcastic confusing, right? Okay, what do you think this website does?
Records your voice.
Record your, how did you figure that out?
I know, it's
Right? Unlike Symbaloo and Digo, where there's lots of different things you can click, this website allows you to do one thing and one thing only, which is record your voice. So if you'll head over there to Beth, she will.
So think of something that you want to say, maybe a sentence, a story starter, maybe a reflection of your PATINS experience,
Maybe something you've learned.
something you've learned, okay? So when you're ready, you're just going to, and the recorder will pick you up. So when you're ready, you're just going to click to record, and you're going to go ahead and
On the red
record.
dot?
Click on that red dot to record. You just click the mouse pad anywhere.
Here?
Yep. Yep.
Hi, I am learning.
Okay. So whoops, I'm sorry.
Oh.
So it's asking to allow to use my camera and mic.
I am learning so much in this session, and I am feeling really overwhelmed.
Okay. Excellent. And we apologize. We're glad
I
you're
am
learning a
learning
lot. We
so
apologize for you being
I'm
overwhelmed.
just trying to figure out how I'm going to do it all.
That's right.
Or
Well,
try
that's
it
why
out.
we would love it if anybody wants to come. And again, we're not advertising this because we're going to make like big bucks off of this already. We're not. We're just going to this conference and we're doing this. But this is a way to get 2 days to digest and plan for this,
Brenda,
as opposed to.
let me make you feel better. So I've been working in assistive technology for years. I've heard about the AIM Navigator for probably 2 years old now, right? AIM Navigator. I knew about it. I know I should have gone and spent time looking at it. I should have gone through that whole thing. My supervisor says, hey, everybody, you should go and look at this AIM Navigator. Have I ever taken the time to do it? And yesterday here at PATINS was the first time that I actually walked through it because I'm at a conference and I actually was surrounded by people when we were doing it together.
Me too.
So,
Same
we
story.
are all in the same boat there.
So now we can listen to it.
I am learning so much in this session.
No, it's okay.
Really.
Because I have the volume way up. So simple, right? That was pretty easy. We were able to get in there.
Brenda, are you happy with this recording?
I don't like this part at the beginning where I kind of.
Okay, so you could do it over if you wanted. Well, let's just pretend that you are happy with this recording.
All right.
Right? You can live with it,
Yeah.
right? You could live with it. So there's a place here that says, click here to save. Can you find it?
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
Click here to save.
I'm not enough.
It's okay. Just you go ahead and literally just click it. There you go.
And it says, okay, I've taken this and I've sucked it up to the web, and now it's in the cloud someplace, and here's your link to it. So now, if anyone else wanted to type this in, they could, and they could listen to your link. So you can copy this. You click on it. You should be able to copy it. Just click.
Mm-hmm.
Beth
And-
will help you with the Mac
Yeah,
side of
that's all right.
how you
so
copy.
I can embed it, and then I'm going to get. So I can copy this. So there we go. And I would just Command C. It's all right. I've been doing this for a month, and I'm not feeling too expert at it yet myself.
Copy
All
paste, right?
So I
You
can
see what
copy
happened there?
paste.
Just got a
I can-
URL.
I can email it to someone. It's going to set it up. It's going to pull me into my. It's going to pull into the email, and it's going to let me email it. So, anybody speech language pathologist in here? We had a lot of speech language pathologists yesterday. So, how might you use this as a speech language pathologist? And being able to email it to someone.
I have a student, I work with students that are orthopedically impaired. My kids can't, a lot of them can't write, and they keep saying they want to use Dragon, and I'm like, Dragon is so hard, it's so complicated. I mean, if they're just giving answers, they could do this to their teachers without having to use Dragon, because Dragon is very complicated.
It is.
Come here, Brenda.
So
Come here.
I just think this is freaking wonderful for my students. You're going to give me this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay with
This
that.
is what we do.
I mean,
what we
this
do.
would be wonderful,
That's-
because all I do is talk about Dragon. Plus, Dragon is so outrageously expensive, and it's so hard to learn.
And it's not universal, meaning
No.
you have to have Dragon on the computer that you
Yeah.
go to, where you could sit down at any one of these computers.
I'm writing this down. Are you done with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So-
Thank you for helping.
That's excellent. If I was using it, if I was doing speech, I might record a student voice sample, send it to a parent, send it to the classroom teacher. I might have a group of students who are working on something, create that recording and be able to email it. Or I can go in and I can post it, I can embed it. This embed code allows you to embed it in another website. It's the HTML that if you're doing that, I could send it to Twitter. I could, it has some other different ones there, so I could get into any of these. I could,
And
Facebook
you can
it.
download it. So if
And
you
I
don't
can
want it on
download
the
it.
web, you want to take the actual MP3 file, it'll save it as an MP3 file. And look, it's even got a QR code if you wanted to create a QR code for it. But now Beth has saved it, and so now it's saved on her computer someplace, right? So let's talk about what Brenda just talked about with the recording and the Dragon controversy. Okay, so let's say you created a four-square writing template
oh
for
gosh, I got
students.
my iTunes going. God only knows what's playing on here, my kids.
So let's say you have this four-square writing template that you use. You've heard of Foursquare? Yes, and that's not like a website or anything. That's just a strategy. 5 cells on a screen, and a topic sentence, 3 details, and a conclusion. Well, what we have students do is we still have Microsoft Word 2007, and we're still using Windows XP in our school district, which has the record your voice feature. So you can record your voice right in Microsoft Word. For some reason, Microsoft took that out in future versions, more recent versions. So they took it out, right? So you do this, what I'm talking about, Brenda, the same strategy. Right? So what we have students do now is record their voice in different ways. Well, Vakaroo is one of them. And they then take the MP3 file and they put that in those different cells. Right? So the topic sentence is, I'm learning so much today. Detail number 1. But I'm a little, sentence number 2. No, so that's topic sentence. I'm learning so much today. Detail number 1 is, I'm having such a great time at PATINS. Detail number 2 is, you see what I'm saying? They write their essay without ever having typed a thing. They get all their thoughts out, and then they go back and they listen and they start typing in. Does that make sense? Cool. To frame the whole, how it can work to improve the writing process. Now students they don't have to write the answer, they can record the answer. They don't have to write the essay, they can record the essay. Doesn't print it out in text, they still have to practice that lifelong skill of keyboarding, right? Lifelong skill. Kids need to know how to keyboard if they can. Right? So they're practicing keyboarding while listening, and they don't. So here's what happens, right? Students that didn't use that, they start to type, and they get that little red squiggly underneath the, I start to spell a word, and they get the little red squiggly, and they can't move on because they got to fix what that little red squigglies. It's wrong. So they go off and they find out, maybe they ask a friend, they ask a teacher, they use spell check. They finally get that little red squiggly to go away. They got the thing spelled right. What was the rest of my sentence? I don't know. But when you've recorded your voice, you just click on it and listen to it again, and now you can listen to the whole thing. Cool. You see the strategy? Useful? Cool. The idea of recording your voice to give answers and turning that information in digitally to teachers is a little bit, sometimes it's hard for teachers, general ed teachers, to wrap their brain around. What do you mean? We have to, here's the test. Everyone's got to take this test. What do you mean they can record their voice? And because we're not worrying about it coming out as speech to text, in text, who cares about that? I want to know if they know the answer to the problem. And the student can whisper it, right? If you back there were recording your voice, you wouldn't hear what it was. Even if you were sitting that close, you could. But with speech to text, you're going to need to enunciate something.
And they can record their assignment. I mean, the students I work with, they can't write in those little bitty boxes. And they can't type well enough to get it down fast enough. They can just record their assignments and email them to themselves.
So they can record their assignment. So let me walk through that. They have like an agenda book where students have to, right? And so how would they use this? One more time for the microphone.
The students, I mean, the way I'm visualizing is that they could record their math assignment, email it to themselves, so that it's at home too. So at home, they don't have to carry anything because they can't carry. It's already there. It's at home on their home computer. It would be awesome.
Right. And email it to themselves, or if they can remember that hyperlink, right? I mean, that's a long hyperlink. But yeah, absolutely, email it to themselves. Great. Love it.
They could even tweet it to their friends.
Now that is a lot. We're talking about expression there. Representation, I've seen teachers use this where they record their voice and they say stuff like, okay, what a topic sentence is, and they embed that into the, here's what a topic sentence is, Johnny, or, okay, we're taking the test on the colors of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv. Remember, we've been practicing Roy G. Biv. Or, hey class, this time, periods, punctuation, and capitalization counts. And you embed that into the Word document, and they listen to it and, hey kids, capitalization and punctuation count, you know what I mean, as a alternative form of representation. So it's not, how many times have you seen the accommodation directions read out loud, instructions read out loud, questions read out loud? So what is the typical process? Right? What's the traditional process is you got the test, or you got and you got the 3 students here, and you have an assistant that reads it to them, right? You've seen this? You do this? This is what happens in our district. Is happening. So you have that small group setting. And so this student, you read the question once, and you read the question again, and these 2 got it. This one over here could really use to hear it a 3rd time. Are they going to ask? Like, can you read it one more time? No way, because they don't look stupid in front of these 2, right? But you put the technology in place, and they can listen to it 4 times, 5 times. It doesn't matter. They can listen to it over and over and over. You take away that social component.
So I just was playing around behind you. I'm sorry, I'm going to,
Yeah.
and then I could put a series of steps in here, put it in my Symbaloo. Okay, I would have labeled this step 1, step 2, whatever. And then if I had my little widget for typing, the kids could keep listening to those steps. They could do whatever it is that they needed to do. I could email this link with a series of steps to a student, or they could, help create this themselves. So again, we can take a number of these tools, marry them together, and create some different resources. Then you had your hand up.
I'm just trying to think of different ways to use this for students. Like let's say you wanted them to write a report or something. I've got one kid who just, the whole writing process is just, very difficult. So
You have one student like that?
Well, I'm just thinking of him in particular, but will this work on an iPad?
Symbaloo does have an app.
Symbaloo has an app, so you can the Symbaloo piece. So I could put it on an iPad for that. So a number of these. There is a Digo, for example. There's a Digo app with the Digolet where you can bookmark your things that you find as you're going through Safari. Symbaloo has an app, so you can have it on the iPad. Does Vakaru
No,
work?
but there.
It would work on the.
There's a voice memo app that's either free or 99 cents, but voice
But you might
memo,
be able to pull a
same deal.
Vakaru just on the iPad on Safari. I don't
Might be
know then how.
flash-based, though. It might be flash-based.
Yeah, it might be flash-based. I'm not sure.
You have to play. Well, you have an iPad there, right?
I do, and I was just thinking, how you do that thing where you add the button to the home screen of whatever,
Right.
like if you wanted kids to be able to go to it quickly. like if you were giving a test and the kid was responding orally, to take away that need for a scribe to sit next to the student, could they, you know, keep responding? And then if it was your iPad and it was hooked to your email, where their response went to you each time as an email. I don't know, I'm just
That's
trying
awesome.
to think of whether.
Unfortunately, it does say, I pulled it up, sorry your device does not support in-browser audio recordings. And then I think it's a matter of then looking at how could I use the built-in voice memo or something like that, where I could create a series of voice memos that I can get to easily on my iPad. So the
But you could
tool
still
is
do the
not
same
really
thing.
the point, it's the strategy.
Right. Other tools to do that. Okay, all right. Just
I
trying
love
to
the
think of
brainstorming.
ways to do it for, you know, anyway.
I love it. I love the brainstorming. That's awesome. Awesome. 2 other options for recording your voice. The one thing I need to mention about Vocaroo, not there permanently. It goes away after a couple months. And when you go into the FAQs and find out, well, how long does it stay, they say, we don't know really. So it makes me think what happens is people will create MP3s and it kind of puts it in a queue. It's the way I don't know this for sure. This is me, you know, guessing. Puts it in this queue, like this line of, you know, this stacked of MP3s, and the latest date gets dropped. There's probably like, okay, we can handle this amount of space, and we're going to keep dropping ones. So after a couple months, they do go away.
Now, if you save it as an MP3, that's a file that is yours. So
Right.
you can do whatever you want with that. And you can upload that. If you need this to be on a web page for a student, you can upload that MP3 that you have created and saved and put it on there as a file.
That's permanent.
Okay, and it's permanent. So it's not that anything you do in there has a shelf life that's too short. It just depends on what steps you go through.
Just
it.
just the URL link that they give you. So Record MP3 is an alternative. Like it just as much as Vocaroo, just the name isn't as cool. You know, Vocaroo is something you can remember. Record MP3 a little bit more practical, but very cool. And Audacity is you've heard of Audacity maybe? Audacity is not Web 2.0. It's something you have to install, but it is free, and it is the go-to program for like podcasters and stuff like that. If you're ever starting a podcast, but it's a way to record your voice as well. That gives you the little, you know, as you're recording, you can see the little lines going. Good for audio feedback. You know, we want your thing to look like, we want your sound, we want this word to look like this. You know, good for the speech therapist in the room. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just looked at Vocaroo for a little bit, and we're going to take a look at Live Binders. Anybody here use Live Binders before? Okay. Live Binders is, again, it's another, whether you want to call it social bookmarking site, curation site, it's a way of gathering websites and other resources together and putting them in one place, whether it's for yourself. We use them actually in our district as a way of gathering professional resources for teachers, as well as gathering resources for students.
Beth, come on. How many social bookmarking sites are we going to show?
Oh.
Why would we show you so many different sites that can do the same thing? Exactly, right, Lori? It's all about providing options, right? Providing options. We're showing you different ways so that maybe you don't like Digo. Maybe it's too confusing for you. Maybe this is something. Maybe you don't like Symbaloo. Well, maybe you like this instead. That could be one of these.
So Live Binders is a way, their motto is it's a 3-ring binder for the web. So it's a way of basically creating and putting together a notebook full of resources that are available. So I'm going to actually pull up one that we've done in our district. So we have an inquiry project in 3rd grade where students are researching and writing about how to make contributions to our community, okay? So, and we've created a live binder for them where and you can see there's different tabs here. So if I'm on this tab, Facts to Inspire Environmental Action, I have a number of sub-tabs here that I can get to. So I can get to information about protecting our groundwater. So we have preset this up with resources that we have vetted that we want students to be able to get to help support their research. They can still go out and find other resources as well, but we've pre-put in information for them. 4-H community service ideas. Sometimes it takes a minute to things come up. Rodale Institute. So these are all different things. So under this tab, I can go to the next tab, Facts to Inspire Health and Wellness, and I can go to all these different tabs within it. If you see here, I can have my students start, if they've got collaboration access, I can have students, I've got information here, but I can also put text in here. So I can prompt, when I set this up, I can prompt students to be able to know what they need to do. So they need to click on the light gray tabs to explore a variety of websites. If I was using a text-to-speech tool, Read Write Gold, Free Natural Reader, we showed Vosme yesterday. I had to think for a second.
Me too.
We showed Vosme yesterday. I could pull that in, that text-to-speech, and I could support that. So they're able to go through and see a variety of different resources. Some things are, there we go, it just takes a little bit longer. So I have it all within. I can scroll into that. I can actually move along into some of the links and stuff if I needed to, but it's within this contained space of the live binder. So I can direct students' research where they need to be with the appropriate tools and resources within that. All right, so I'm able to get into that. I can look at a variety of different projects. Thank you, sir. I'm going to go into one where I can edit. I have editing rights in this. I'm a collaborator on this. And I'm not going to edit anything in this one because this is something we use within our district, and I don't want to change the properties. But just to show you, I can not only upload and put in websites into this, but I can upload files. I can insert media like Flickr photos, which if you were here yesterday, I could search directly for the Flickr, so photo sharing website, YouTube, and I can add different tabs and stuff. So I can put in files like, so if I have, in addition to the research that they're doing, maybe there's a Microsoft Word file that I want to put in, I can insert that in as well for students to be able to interact with. I can also, if I look at the text layout of things, if you look here, I can have, here's our media, and here's our text. If I had a student who is in there as a collaborator, they could be taking the information that they're learning from that site right there and in a side-by-side view, putting in their notes, and then be able to transfer those out, copy and paste those out to a Word document or whatever. So all within that live binder, I'm able to present a great deal of information. So I'm going to go back to the...
Did you mention, Beth, that this also has is it called it's like the Deagolette, right? You can add it to your...
Yes, so I can have there's a live binder app that I can put on there, and there's also a toolbar for it that I can have so that I can, a bookmark tool, so that I can have live binder it right from so if I come across a great website, I can live binder it and put it on. I haven't added that to my new Mac yet, so here's an idea here that you can show. So I can simply drag this live binder, and let's see if I can, oops, I'm not grabbing the right thing. I'm not going to take the time to do that. It's not letting me right now. So I need to read. I'm a new Mac user. I apologize. So I can go right in and I can live binder it and have that bookmark lit tool right on there. It's
just
really,
like Digo.
Yeah, just like Digo. Just like Digo, exactly. So it's very easy to go in and start a binder. I can also organize things by shelves. So it's not just by binders that are all over the place, but I can have shelves. So I can have a shelf for a topic area. I could have shelf for grades if I have multiple classrooms that I'm in, if whatever it is. If I'm a high school math teacher, I could have a shelf that's algebra, algebra 2, pre-calculus, geometry. I can.
And that's just your stuff, Beth.
And this is
you can also search other people's stuff. So if you'll see over here, there's these different educational searches. You could just click on one, or you can type in your own. So let's say you're looking for resources on.
Oops.
Help me out. Math, right? Okay, should you say math, or click right down there?
Yeah, there was math on there. So these are things that other people have done that I can take a look at. So I can get
Common Core
into
State Standards for Mathematics.
Yes.
46 views. Look at how many people have viewed this live binder.
Actually, I looked at it recently too. That's funny. That's one that I can get it. So there's a whole range. We actually set up a live binder for our reading specialists with the Common Core to provide them with resources and we're asking them to be collaborators on it and be able to sign up as collaborators. So I can give somebody, I can invite, as the person who starts a live binder, I can invite anybody I want to collaborate. So right now, in that inquiry that you saw, Chris cannot go in and collaborate on that because he hasn't been invited. I haven't set it up, and it's not publicly editable. I could have set it up, and I'm not going to, Chris. But you know, he's dangerous. But I could invite other teachers to collaborate on it. I could invite students to collaborate on it. So again, there's levels of privacy controls.
Now, Beth, do I have this right? These little smiley faces are people who kind of like it.
Yep.
Right? There's a in the top right-hand corner. It's when you're on an not on this view, but there's when you're in one, right? You can say, "Is this useful?" Which is just like the like, you know, like that like feature in that other tool. What is it called? Facebook.
Yeah. I think there should be a like button for everything. I also think, you know, there was something I was in that I wanted a like button for, and I can't remember what it is. Oh, it's the website that our curriculum is housed in.
Is that a pill bottle with holes drilled in it?
It looks like.
For like.
It's something. No, it looks like it's something rolled up that they've done. I have no idea. I'd have to click on that and find out what it was.
Interesting.
But I won't.
One of the people in my office, her name is Judy Schoonover, she's an occupational therapist, and she loves her specialty on our team is finding kind of like just junk and turning it into educational stuff. And one of the things she's turned she found this cool website, Touch How to Do It, how to turn a Pringles can into a multiplication thing where you you've seen that? You've seen that where you, similar, that reminded me of that, yeah.
So again, similar to Pinterest in that you can have images up there, so I can upload images, but I can have a lot of text with it. I can have text with it as well. So I can have, because I can set it up in a variety of different ways with, if we looked back at that, I'd have to go back into a binder of mine. If we looked back at a binder that I'm creating, I can have my media laid out in different ways. So I can have it just having that website, and I can scroll within that, or I can have my media on one side and a place to type on another, or I can upload images and videos as well. So a variety of different types of media that can be housed within this live binder. And I did want to let you know that our special prize at the end of the day for our contributors is that this is the free. So all the things that we've seen so far are even just within the free version, but that they have a pro version where you can do even more things, set up very specific privacy controls for students, really some fabulous different resources that you can have with the more storage space, private, a lot more that you can get into, large files that you can upload. So we have 1 year free subscriptions, 2 1-year free subscriptions to Live Binders from Tina and Barbara at Live Binder. And they're really, it's like a really great little company that they've got going there. So I encourage you guys to look at it. So again, another form of a social bookmarking site in essence, but some different ways that you might choose to use it. I think what you would do is you would end up defaulting back. You'd still have access to all of your stuff, but you'd be defaulting back to where you wouldn't be able to then. So everything that you'd already created would be fine. You just wouldn't be able to continue to have a file that to set things up in that way.
Okay.
So, but it's a $99.50 value.
Who likes comics? Oh, wait, question. Yes. Mary Lou, you like comics?
Well, I'm sorry, this is
No, you're not.
You talked about Digo, you talked about Symbaloo, you talked about Live Binders. That seem to me they're all aggregators.
Yep.
Which one? I mean, it seems like you have to pick one to put all your stuff, and you can't put all your stuff in all these. Which one do you guys, as presenters, as people who give content to educators, what do you like the best?
Oh, it depends on, so again, it's one of those things, it's the task. It depends on the task that I'm doing. So if I'm creating, and what my purpose is. So for me, I'll tell you a couple different ways. For me, for all my really quick, this is a great website, I don't want to forget where it is, I use Digo. I grab it really quickly, I put it in there. I might put a little annotation on it if there's something really quick that I want to remember from it. If I want to create kind of a themed content that I don't want to have to leave the tool that I'm working in order to view that content. So I want it to be a little safer. I want it to not be the great big World Wide Web that they're going in, but I want to contain it. Whether it's for professionals, because, I mean, how many of you have clicked and clicked and clicked and clicked and realized you have no idea where you came from? Okay? So maybe it's for professionals, or maybe it's for students where I want some very focused look, and I want to have media being able to be shown right in there, and I might want to upload some of my own things. Then I might use something like live binders. If I'm setting up something for whether it's for myself or whether it's for students, and I want a very simple visual, graphic-based interface where there's not a lot of having to move around, where I can quickly and easily get to that, then that's where I'm going to use Symbaloo, because of those tiles that I can get to real easily, and the ability, again, with the widget in the middle for some simple typing, to be able to not have to leave things necessarily. So it's really depending on the task.
I'm hearing you say that in your daily work, what you use the most is Digo.
Yes, in my daily work for myself.
Right.
When
right.
I
That's
need
my
quickly,
question.
But I have to say I've done entire presentations in LiveBinder, where I've done my entire presentation. It's been, where I've done 99 of the best tools you've ever seen, okay, 40 free fabulous web resources. And I've done the entire presentation in LiveBinders. Haven't moved out of the web to do the pages within that web to do it. Haven't gone into a PowerPoint or anything like that. So again, it depends on the medium that I'm doing it for.
And you have a free account?
And I have a free account. I've never used the premium account.
And you can upload files to it?
And I can upload files to it.
Okay, thank you.
So, do you want my answer?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, my answer is pretty much the same, except I use Digo every day. There's not a day I don't use Digo, because I'll come across a piece of a content and I'll want to share it with the other teammates, right? And we put together these strategy a day calendars. And so when I come across, this looks like a good tool, I want to explore it, I'll tag it with my name, Chris, and then when it comes time to make the calendar, I will pull up a list of everything tagged Chris, and okay, these at some point I thought might make good calendar slides, we call them calendar slides each, because we make it in PowerPoint.
Right.
But the home page, Symbaloo, right? Because I have quick access to all of the different hyperlinks that way. I don't go into Digo and go to search to find that calendar thing that I need to do. I'm confusing the calendars. I don't go in there to go find the link to the tracking system that I use every day, go hunt that down in Digo. I use that on my home screen. LiveBinders, I have not really explored LiveBinders that much as far as creating my own. I've made one or two just to play with them. So I haven't used it in that way, but I do use it for the search feature, and that's why I jumped in there, because that's what I use it for. I can find that search feature.
Where he found somebody else's LiveBinder.
Right, where we did the search for math, and we pulled up all the math binders. There's where I use it a lot, because again, it's not that fire hose, it's the garden hose. This is stuff that I can see, wow, 83 people found this useful, and that means I might find it useful, and it's educators, that are doing it. So.
Okay. So how many on your toolbar, in addition to Evernote, how many little things do you have?
So I do have a LiveBinder it up there, but I don't use it that frequently. Just Digo primarily is what I do, because Symbaloo, I've kind of set it up. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not adding to it all the time for my own professional purposes.
Okay, thank you.
But that's a really good question, and I think again it comes down to the purpose that you're using the tool. So.
All right, who likes comics?
I like comics.
Okay, so I think comics are probably one of the most underutilized tools in American classrooms today. I might do one little project on it, but it, to me, provides so much engagement for students. That's overwhelmingly, kids find this fun to do, right? Create. And then also, am I hitting?
Mr. Kress, did you know that graphic novels are called out in the Common Core?
And I did not know that.
Yeah, because he lives in Virginia.
Virginia
he teaches
has
in
not
Virginia
adopted.
and hasn't adopted the Common Core.
The common what?
So when we're talking about these comics, and you're thinking about your implementation because Indiana has adopted the Common Core, graphic novels are actually specifically called out in the Common Core. Something happened. Oh, they're called out as in they're called out in the indicators, I believe, in 4th and or 5th grade, beginning as a genre in the Common Core. So, so as far as using graphic novels, which are essentially expanded versions of comics, it is something. It is a genre that's being called out.
It's wordsmithing. If you want to be PC, you call it graphic organizer, and your administrators are more receptive than saying you're reading comics.
You're reading comics, yeah.
Graphic
Graphic
novels,
novels, yeah.
yes, graphic novels. But they're called out, and so they're being valued by the Common Core as a and they're actually not a genre, I guess. It's because you could have historical, you could have informational text, you could have historical fiction in a graphic novel, you could have fantasy in a graphic novel. So it's not the genre, but it's the format for presentation of text, and they are actually called out as something that there's an expectation. It's one of those examples, such as. So just to give you that little thing. So
it's real easy also to think.
So that was my little thing of like why
it.
actually you really need to use comics.
This is just one, toondoo.com. And because we only have about 15 minutes left, I think Beth, maybe the thing we can do is just, we can actually show these tools. We'll just kind of skim through and talk about the
Sounds
tools.
great.
So Toondoo, it's real easy to think of it as a form of expression, right? Got students in there, and they're making comics, and they're expressing themselves through the comics. We can scaffold it, where maybe some students are, the teacher has created a comic, and the students are filling in the bubbles, right? So you don't have to create a comic from scratch. Teachers can start off that way. But what a lot of people don't think of is a form of representation, where you might have, look at this. This is I'm trying to express here about the concept of universal design for learning, right? I can use comics to present content to students. I make comments to express what I know. I make comics because they are engaging. Comics are fun, right? Like the little AT Tips cast shirt. See, he's got the cute shirt. But it's a form of representation. So teachers could be using this to present content in a fun and engaging way, right? So check out comics. Go back and forth with the different tools to use, because Beth, if you go to the next slide. Thank you for navigating, by the way. Here's just a list of this is not all inclusive, right? There's Pixton, Make Believes Comics, Bitstrips.com. Love Bitstrips. In fact, in that book we wrote, the Practical and Fun Guide, we used some Bitstrips in there to illustrate some points.
Isn't your bookmark that you made?
Yeah, that's right. In the calendar, these are Bitstrips. In the calendar that many of you received for participation, there's a little bookmark, and there's different, some of you have monsters. I got a superhero on this one, but some of you have monsters on there. And so that's a Bitstrips. So tons of different comics. And then there's ones that create video, Go Animate, we actually have later in the presentation, Kerpoof. And then there's all sorts of apps, free apps, Toontastic. My daughter and my son love playing with Toontastic. You make these little puppets move, it's very cool. One of the reasons we decided to call out Toondoo is because it has this cool feature where you can upload your own picture right next to, and so now you take your own digital picture, right? You can upload any picture, but I like to use it with students who, maybe students with autism or students who have trouble with emotion, and you upload a picture of this guy smiling. And now you bring up the cartoon character, and they have to generate the same picture, but they're making a cartoon character of someone smiling. And so now what's the activity? You're really focusing on what's emotion, and what emotion are we talking about here, right? How do you make this person smile? What's making them happy? It's a way of getting some engagement with and self-reflection about the picture. So cool. That is one feature of Toondoo that a lot of the other ones don't have, and that's why I like to call it out. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so anybody here used Evernote? All right.
Got some fans.
Anybody go to, I'm sad that I didn't make it to it, but Misty from Alaska yesterday, I guess, presented on Evernote and different apps and stuff like that. So Evernote is anybody want to tell me? Because some of you guys have used Evernote before.
Okay.
So why do you love Evernote?
Everyone
We'll
who
tell
uses it has that same expression on their face.
I
right?
have my whole life is in Evernote. I have whole notebooks full of things that I need to remember how to do things in FileMaker. I have whole notebooks full of just personal things. I have every password I've ever had is encrypted in Evernote. You can send things to other people. You can like clip things off the web. You can clip a whole web page. You can just clip a portion of a web page. And so everything I have is on my iPad, it's on my phone, it's on my iMac, it's everywhere I am, and it's always updated. And I'm not organized myself, and so it helps me to just, if I'm going on a trip somewhere, I'll put everything I'm gonna, all my hotel reservations, my plane reservations, everything I have to do, my schedule, I'll put it all in a notebook, a map where I need to be everything, and then when I get there, I've got it all on.
And it syncs to all your devices.
And it's on everything at once.
So Evernote
Hence
is
the ever.
Yeah. So Evernote is a tool for keeping information, whether it's processing, and I really like it because it has a lot of the word processing tools that all of us are familiar with. It can go exactly as you said. It can go from an iPad to your phone to the web. You used to have to download something. You can still download it. It may give some additional features, but I was able to pull up all of my notebooks last night without having to do anything other than log in to Evernote on the web. And you keep notebooks. You keep information that you can organize in different ways and create notes. As you said, you can easily pull in pictures. I can place pictures in it, and I can also put in audio as well. So that's another nice feature to be able to put some audio in there.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
I get so excited about this. On the Mac, when you go to print anything, there's also a PDF button for printing.
Right.
And underneath there, it says Save to Evernote.
So
So anything that you're printing, you can just say, put a copy
that's a
of
new
this in
thing for me.
Evernote.
That's great. Thank you. I'm just that was worth the. So glad to have you here. Worth the price of admission. So again, it's a tool that you can use in a variety of different ways, and because you can get to it in all those different ways, kids can be working on it in some place and easily get to another. I really love that feature of being able to put pictures in. So whether it's a picture that I've taken or a picture that I am capturing from the web, I can put the URL in there, all of that. It's a way to really quickly grab information and be able to use it and then access it later. So lots of bits and pieces for organization. Set it up in notebooks as well. The other cool thing about Evernote is that it comes with Evernote is free. There is a premium version. It's a subscription. I wish it was just something I paid one flat fee for instead of having to do a subscription. So I haven't chosen to go the premium route with it. But there are some other low-cost apps that work along with it. There's an app called Peak, and
You want me to do that?
I'll go ahead and disconnect, I guess. Oh, I'm sitting here trying to hook it up the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an app called Peak that I've just started looking at, and so I'm not going to show you one that I did because none of them are particularly beautiful. But you can take any note that you've created in Evernote and make a quiz out of it. So if I go into this one on French verbs, it has this really cool, the covers that come with the iPads that you can purchase to come with the iPad. So you pull your, you can have audio with it. So you pull your cover down. So I'm going to go close the smart cover and Peak to begin. So I'm going to close my cover, and then I'm going to just pull it up a little bit, and it. I don't know why it doesn't. It's really weird that the microphone doesn't pick up. Maybe I'm holding in the wrong place. Let's try it one more time. So it's saying comme ci, comme ça. It's saying that, and then the idea with this particular one is that I'd have to know what the English was, and I can lift that up and I can see what the answer is, so. So it's just a really, when I saw this, and it's like a $4 app, so it's a pretty inexpensive, low-cost app to be able to make some study tools for students that's engaging, simple motor, can have some auditory in there, and then when I close it and open again, it takes me to the next question on there. it also tracks your number of correct and incorrect that you get on there. Another really quick one that I'm just going to show you really briefly is called Sketch. And Sketch is, allows you to take and annotate on top of it. So I had a picture from Scholastic News that I grabbed, and I could go and I put in, you know, picture, an arrow there. I could draw on this. I could put notes. I can type in it as well. So it allows me to take something, and I can open up anything I've done in Sketch. It'll go to Evernote as an image. An alternative to Evernote, so again, some of the different things that we get in it is that you can insert images. You know, we talked about audio hyperlinks. If I'm on the iPad and I have text in Evernote, I can use the voiceover or speak selection feature. So I've got my text-to-speech built in for whether it's a PDF or a Word document that I've popped into Evernote for a student to be able to read, and it will do that with PDFs, or you can easily open PDFs or Word documents in it. Or if as a student is typing, for them to get their feedback on what they've written. An alternative option would be Notability, and that's another new app that I think is a really nice one. And the nice thing that I like about Notability is different backgrounds, but that I can type in Notability and I can annotate in the same document. So if students need to annotate on top of like a worksheet that you've taken in and pulled in as, or if they need to type in into something as well. So I do really like that feature of it. It's not as robust in other ways as Evernote is.
But Evernote, the app is free. Sketch is free.
Sketch is low cost, a few dollars.
Oh, maybe I got it when it was free.
Maybe, yeah, but it's like less than $5.
It's not free.
I don't think so. I could swear I
Okay.
paid for it.
All right.
But I could be wrong.
Who's right? Can someone find out? You have to pay for it? What's the current cost? You paid for Sketch? Interesting. Okay, I must have got it when it
You
first
must have
came
got it
out.
when it was free.
Because I didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
Notability costs money too. What was that?
For Evernote, is there an amount that you can only put in there? Do you know, like?
I've never exceeded
There's a
it.
monthly limit, and she's
Yeah.
only ever reached it once.
Okay.
So, yeah. And I do use it. I mean, I use it on a personal level for almost all of my note-taking, for meetings and classes that I take, courses that I take, and I've never hit the monthly limit. And I don't know that I use it every single day for every single thing, but I probably create at least 5 notes a week that can be pretty extensive.
All right, we have 5 minutes left, so we'll just briefly skim the tools that are left, okay? I think the next one might be MindMeister.
Yep.
MindMeister is an online graphic organizer. Graphic organizer as opposed to graphic novel, right? You draw the cells, and you can put different text, you can put different pictures into it. So this is what one would look like, right? I made one for Nightlight Stories. You've seen graphic organizers before. You've probably heard of Inspiration or used Inspiration. This is the free this is a free web-based version similar to that. So that's MindMeister. Also, there's an app for the iPad which is free. At least it was when I got it, which was like not that
You do
long.
have limits with MindMeister in how many maps that you can
make. Yeah.
Not how many you can make, but how many you can keep. So you hit your limit with 3, and then you have to delete old ones. So depending on how you're using it, if it's something that you're using as part of the writing process, and you're finished with that, you can get rid of it and then have another one.
Can you go back to the picture of
Yeah.
MindMeister for a second? Just recently, they changed it, and they added a new feature. Have you heard of Prezi? Right, you've seen
Yeah.
the roller coaster. So the
can kind of
Prezi
Prezi
is an alternative to PowerPoint where you do presentation. They changed MindMeister, not changed it, they've added a feature to it where you can, once you've created your mind map, you can draw boxes over each of these. This would be box number 1, box number 2, box number 3, and then there's a hit the presentation tool, and it does a Prezi sort of thing where it focuses on these different areas. So you could create a presentation in MindMeister. There are lots and lots and lots of free graphic organizing tools on the web. These are 4, but there are more that you can look into. Oh, 5 if you include MindMeister. Okay. Twidla. Twidla. Do you know, Beth, Twidla is actually has Etherpad in it now?
Oh, okay, right.
So what this is, Google Docs, right? You go and you create a Google Doc, and now we can all type in it like we did, right? Beth is going to be looking at the number of people, our data here in a second to find out who our winners are. Twidla is a big online white space, but just like Google Docs, except you can draw in it very easily, and you don't have to have a login. So you create one, and it brings up a URL. This would be at a URL, and I share that URL with us, and you just go and you. So I never had to log in. Like with Google Doc, in order for me to create a Google Doc, I would need to log in to Google and create it. And you don't have to have a Google account to use, for you to use the Google Doc, or for students to use the Google Doc. Here, the difference with Twidla is that you don't have to have, you just go to the website, you don't have to register at all. You just create this online learning space. And because it has this thing called Etherpad, you can type into it. And we could all be typing on the same document at the same time without ever having to, it'd just be like, here's user 654, blah, blah, and here's user blah, blah, blah. And everyone's given a different color. And so Brenda would be typing in one color, and I'd be typing on a different color, and you'd be typing on a different color. And I think you're limited to like, I don't know if it's 8 people. It might be 8 people. Okay? That's Twidla.
Okay.
Go Animate, we talked about a little bit. It's another comic generator, except it turns things into movies. And it's got this real cool quick movie version where there's only a couple characters, you can record your voice, and it's just like a very quick wizard that takes students through it. And it creates this short little animated video.
So we kind of talked about
those options.
Some of those things with that.
One True Media, you can take all sorts of pictures or little videos, put them together on this website, and it creates this cool, moving, engaging video for you. So you don't, like video, I don't know, I make the video, and then how do I make it more fun? It's just this person talking, or I got all these pictures together, and I make this slide show where I'm looking at the pictures one at a time. This puts it into a movie format that has some real funky music and everything. Lots of options as far as choosing different music and stuff in different styles, right?
And there's lots of versions. There's lots of other things that you can do similar stuff with that, and actually we've got a couple of them here.
Photo Peach, you upload a photo, and you can record your voice, and then kind of just describing that photo. Very simple.
And Photo Peach is a nice one because you can record in your voice with it as well as having text on there. So those multiple means of expression and multiple means of representation.
Right. I took this particular one, the example, if you check it out, is my daughter. She's wide awake on the train, and it says going, and then you're going, gone, and she falls asleep.
We kind of didn't.
Okay, homework. As you leave today, you might hopefully you found something useful. But like we said, we have one person who is on general education. Everyone else here is special education, right? Right? And so when we're talking about the concept of universal design for learning, we really need everyone to evangelize to get the word out to the general educators. We feel like this might be one fun way to do that. This is called UDL Jeopardy. If you were to go there, it brings you to a website with a Jeopardy board, and it's got different categories. One of those categories is Web 2.0 tools, but then there's also one called definitions and other stuff. You can play Jeopardy by yourself. You can play it by yourself, play it with a team. Hey, let's test our knowledge on UDL. And we go and we take UDL Jeopardy. I wrote the questions myself, so.
And I'm going to go and take a look at our...
All right, as Beth counts up the totals, I will tell you about the calendar. Who did not get a calendar? Casey, the last person. All right, here you go. Which page? The presentation?
The presentation.
Who can tell her? bit.ly. PATINS. All same slash as the HTTP. Okay, so then
backslash. So it's a backslash. Yeah.
Backslash. Bit.ly/PATINS. PATINS, /PATINS, UDL, part 2, the numeral 2.
There you go.
Okay.
Right up here. So, PATINS. Okay, so
Did it
I'm
come
going
up
to go
this time?
ahead and I'm going to switch for just a second and look at this.
Okay.
So,
Beth, I'm going to talk about the calendar.
Yep, please do.
So some of you heard this yesterday. My assistive technology team, the team I work on, creates this calendar for professional development. We give it out to all of our special ed teachers in our district, all new teachers, all the mentors of those new teachers, all the technology resource teachers in our county, all the administrators. It's made in-house. We have our vocational center. Our assistive technology team produces the content. We give it to our Voc Tech Center. Students do the cutting and the gluing and putting the cardboard backing on it. These are kids that are taking the design classes, the graphic design classes, and they help put the calendars together for us. The reason we show it here at conferences and give it out, obviously, is hopefully to spread the knowledge that's inside it, but also to maybe plant the seed that maybe you could create one. You see how we have a Google Doc up here, the presentation, and how Beth and I don't live, when we live close enough that we could get together, but we don't. We do it all online. You could do the same thing. Right? You say, Mary Lou, could you give me 5 strategies you use? Absolutely, you could. Casey, give me 5 strategies you could use. You know 5 strategies, right? You're all collaborating. Okay? You put those up as a presentation in Google presentation, like the Google Doc presentation mode, and you could be making 1, 2. One thing inside, practicing what we preach a little bit, is that, give me a birthday. Whose birthday? September 15th. Let's see.
I won't tell you the age.
Yeah, no year. Okay, so this one is this one's about our AT loan lending library, right? And so we have like a bunch of adapted books and things, and adapted book kits and stuff that teachers can check out. And so here you can read about it, but then where's the link to get to what the inventory is? Well, there's the QR code and there's the bit.ly, and the bit.ly takes you to our DIGO site, our DIGO group, where we've bookmarked all sorts of different things that would go along with each one of these pages. So if there was a template that we needed or a how-to guide or something like that, they're all bookmarked there in DIGO, and that hyperlink takes you to that. And that's open for anybody, so you can use that as well. Cool? Doable? Do you think you could do that? Mm-hmm. So that's a question that comes all the time. Do we sell these? We have been trying to figure that out in our district and how that would work to sell them. And so the answer is no, we don't. But I do tweet these out every day, and we'll pull up our contact information every day. But we don't have it online. We have it in our in-house on like our intranet for our teachers, but we haven't put it up yet. Although there are many other places that have, like the iCater for Iowa has taken the idea and run with it, and they do like a blog post a day with their strategy a day. So there are places that do, but we don't. We're still trying to figure that out. We still want to, because we feel like we could bring a lot of money back to our district and put it for technology. The logistics is killing us. We can't figure it out.
Is that what it is?
Well, it's our whole team, and that we're doing it on county time, right? So it doesn't belong to us; it belongs to our district. You know what I mean? So it's just working out those logistics.
You guys have done such a great job. I'm sorry, it's like taking me a minute or two to.
Absolutely,
That's why it's there.
That's why it's there.
Yep.
Yes. Leave our name on it and share it. Exactly. Question? Do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Who are our big winners?
I'm getting there. They have done so much that I can't just to be able to even. Okay. So it appears that. Okay. So my Glenda is my first place winner, and Mary Lou is my second place winner. So you guys both get a 1-year free subscription to LiveBinder, the pro version. You're very welcome. But you guys are all winners because you created a document that you can go back to with your team And you didn't have to remember everything. And for those of you that were feeling like totally overwhelmed, and I totally respect that, because I'm totally overwhelmed too, that you can go back and really kind of digest this and pick the things out, focus on, and what we really suggest is focus on 1 or 2 tools. Don't try to do them all. Pick the one that like really stood out to you, or that you felt, maybe going through this list that like when you went through somebody's idea, you have an aha, like, oh, exactly, that's exactly, that you can go and use on Monday when you get back in your district, because it's using it that will really make it powerful for you.
I don't know what I'm doing on your Mac. Can you bring up the presentation again? We'll go to the last 2 slides so you can get all our contact information. You should have all this in yours, but just to bring it up again so you have it. Yeah,
Okay.
There's the Jeopardy. You can go back and play. There's, if you couldn't make it to part 1, here's the link to part 1. And then here's our contact information. Beth's email, her Twitter, my email, my Twitter, the podcast and the blog, the link to the book if you're interested in learning about Practical and Fun Guide to Assistive Technology, and then the app about doing assistive technology consultations/evaluations that Lisa won a copy of. Yay.
So we want to thank you guys so much for having us out here in Indiana. We just love it. We've been like, this hotel is so awesome, and we got to walk around downtown in Indianapolis a little bit last night. And we hope that we see you guys again at something, whether it's online or whether it's at a session that we do someplace else.
And come on up and get some extra calendars.
Because we're not taking them home.
I'm not taking them home.
And we'll be going through the process for making these again. If you want to come to Orlando in January, we'll be really going more into detail into how to plan for all of this, making calendars, all of those types of things across 2 full days.
Just share.